What I do is get millions involved in class struggle.
I move weight.
When
It
you
sounds like
have
a
that
gangster rapper or
sense of overinflated ego, you're not going to get it right.
That's dangerous.
You're not actually
especially as you get older.
concerned.
That's dangerous. Yeah.
And I think this whole like sort of sacrificial martyr complex that he has too. Yeah, it's
like the
ridiculous.
black artist. Yeah.
Like you didn't need to be squatting. You could have gone home and lived with your dad.
What's next for a neighborhood under siege? We'll have to wait and see.
Before we get to the subject of the episode, which is the recent Boots Riley film, I Love Boosters. This is gonna be one of the last shows that Tyger's gonna edit for now because I'm broke, y'all. And Tyger is a wanted man, wanted by media outlets that pay more than I could pay, but maybe with your support, one day soon, he'll be back and the Patreon will pull in enough cash to pay him a proper editor's salary to help make that future a reality. Please go to patreon.com/sadfrancisco. Tyger's doing photography for places like Oakland Side and Richmond Side. He's also editing the movie I'm part of called Made of Glass. The director of said film, Jemma DeCristo, is on the episode today with my co-star from Made of Glass, Ralowe T, Ampu, and DDC Ardan. And like with the first two episodes in the series, we're gonna talk about the politics and the Bay references of I Love Boosters, which is the newish film from Oakland's biggest star director, who is not Ryan Coogler, Boots Riley. We all went to the Metreon to see the movie opening weekend, in addition to Craig and Thatcher. Hello. And by now, the movie's been dissected by a lot of people who yap on the internet, but welcome to what you've been waiting for, the Sad Francisco review, which was held up for a few reasons, including we had to go back and listen to some of Boots' music with the Coup, of which I was a big consumer of in college. And Ralowe, who is ever the completest, went to see Boots' talk at the end of May at City Lectures. And then I was out of town. Boots is a hometown hero in Oakland at this point. I just spent a few minutes with his dad, Walter, who is a movement lawyer who knew Malcolm X, has represented tons of people on the left. He's been out at some of the recent actions around the Golden Gate 26, the anti-Zionist protesters, some of whom were on the podcast last year. And he has come out against the SF District Attorney, Brooke Jenkins' mission to kill dissent. She's attempting to get the Golden Gate 26 on absurd charges like felony kidnapping, all to please her Zionist overlords. All that to say, Boots comes from a leftist family background, and you can see a lot of that in the movie. This is the first movie that I've seen the term market rate housing being discussed in a negative light. As I understand, Boots does pay attention to his critics, even some of the ones with small audiences. That said, we're not gonna hold back. Jemma, Ralowe, and Didi are bringing the queer critique, and they've got some notes.
First, should we talk about like the response generally that we've seen from other people out there in the world?
I haven't talked to, I feel like I haven't talked to a lot of people about this movie. Most people I've talked to hadn't seen it yet. And so then, I mean, yeah, I guess I'm discouraging. I guess it's also, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, but I haven't been paying attention to, I think other people have maybe been paying attention more to the wider public response. Most of the people who've seen it haven't liked it. I think that I spoke to.
Yeah, I saw super divided. People were having very strong feelings on social media about this movie when it came out last month.
Yeah.
About
almost
still
exactly
in theaters?
a month ago.
And it was all the talk of movie talk and, the reels that we're about movies. We're about this movie that year.
There's a lot of marketing too, because we now know, of course, that online quote unquote autonomous conversation is usually
very true.
Organic discourse.
That is very true.
Wow, it was botted too?
Well, no,
Not
I mean
entirely
it's probably,
botted, but yeah, it's like there's a very fine line, I think, where if it's not a direct or like explicit advertisement, how they can try to generate discourse by encouraging people to discuss the film, sending, talking points.
And they might have reached
stuff.
out to like
we're doing
lefty influencer type people. I wouldn't know that.
We didn't get no
money. You'll find from this that we did not get a check, which will become very obvious because of our perspectives.
I mean, the book, when the Miss Major book came out, like Verso did send the book, little package, and some money to some people on TikTok to do reviews of it. That's like low level stuff. That's
not a lot more. This was a $20 million movie.
Yeah, they bought at a gas station in LA for a day and gave free gas to everybody. They were like, Boots was obviously
no logistics,
talking to anybody that would listen.
That would lend an ear.
I imagine that I could have got Boots on this very show.
What I'm struggling with,
now I'm about to lose that opportunity forever after this episode.
Yeah, after this episode,
I've had
there have been a lot of straight people on the show anyway, so.
We've discussed it off camera. I have mixed feelings with trying to review films and like in these particular contexts. And so then like I am struggling with, I think the aspect of this where we are maybe contributing to, allegedly, Boots could be like, this is what I wanted people to do. I wanted people to talk and have, But so I want to make sure that we're making a delineation, like the credit somehow, if it's at all possible.
We're dancing around it, but none of us like the movie, which we'll get into. And to the marketing thing and to the question about, I also think most of the people I saw who liked it were like kind of lefty, socialist, Democrat type people. At least that's what my algorithm was, which I think is ironic because one of his central claims is he's not like an anarchist who's just talking to the same people and it's like an echo chamber. He wants to reach the quote unquote, which is I think something none of us believe in, the masses. Quote unquote, well, maybe I don't want to speak for everyone. And I think it's funny because it feels like really the people who are gassing the movie up on my timelines are like the sort of sucked him, maybe some Marxist, whatever that even means in the US. Like
the representation matters, liberals, I feel like.
There's some of that too. And it is people sort of being like, it's great to see, I'm putting these in big scare quotes for people just listening to the audience, communist ideas. We could talk about whether the film is communist even in a movie. And it is a lot of identity.
Works on me to a certain extent.
Can we say all the white people doing this too? That's your identity politics. Because it literally is them being like, I like to see this in a movie. It's like, you sound just like what you think we sound like. Because if you actually look at the substance of the ideas, which we'll talk about at some point.
Yeah. Like,
big pause. I don't know.
Yeah, we just, if Hollywood were, like all the major studios were ruled by like black capitalists or something, that might be what they're thinking.
Would be a good he's thing. Really combating that.
Well, something to litigate, which I guess we'll get to, is whether or not this does get people to be at least aware of socialism and whether or not that is a win for the movie, even though you don't enjoy watching it, which is what I'm struggling with. It's like,
do they even use the word socialism or communism?
That's a good question.
No,
I don't think
it doesn't. I don't think it does. But labor organizing, that's kind of
labor organizing.
That's sort of the thing that's like the message between this and I'm sorry to bother you.
You can't even say communism
in your communist film.
In your communist film,
because they go to China. I mean, spoilers. I mean, they do go to
the whole thing.
Right, it's China.
Is it like a show don't tell kind of?
But if anything, there's this whole thing where he fancies himself. Oh, I tell people, and that's what people don't like about my movies.
Right, not that he just can't write a movie.
He can't make a movie, which is, I also think, we'll talk about this later or not, it doesn't matter, but it's funny because I think of how, I don't know if I'd say popular, but pretty mainstream Spike Lee is for all of us across generations, where there's like 3 generations in this room. And it's like he tells all the time in his movies, Do the Right Thing is a very popular movie. Yeah. And we don't have to get into the terrible parts of Do the Right Thing, but like, So there are movies that are tell, don't show. So I don't think it is that. To your point, it is a question. Why doesn't he use the word communism or any of those sort of things?
I mean, you got dialectical materialism.
Oh yeah,
no, they do say that.
That's horrendously defined.
That's supposed to be the metonym or something.
Right.
It's like the metonymic substitution. Dialectical materialism stands in for communism.
Do they say dialectical materialism?
Yes, like
no.
There's the awkward with the
sorry to bother you.
Latina woman. And
I don't know.
Do they say dialectical materialism is sorry? I can't remember.
I think he talks. The words capitalism come up in it. We both rewatched it, which was also really hard to sit through. When I texted you all about extending the date of this, I was so angry because I had to watch it. It was such a brutal experience.
So this is clearly going to be an episode where we are talking directly to Boots Riley. We know that he pays attention to the critics, even small, tiny podcasts.
Hashtag Boots Riley. I know he's getting the Google alerts. Yeah,
he will definitely see it.
With that in mind, I mean, I don't know. How are you starting this?
I think because he looms large over the whole production and our critiques are about, like, the director is way more important here than in a lot of other movies that I have seen recently. I think it would be good to start with what our relationship to him and his movies has been.
You probably have the longest because of the movie relationship.
Yeah, people want to go first.
I mean, mine is pretty short. Mine is pretty brief. I mean, I would not have watched this film without the intervention of this podcast.
You were forced.
Which is another strike against the podcast. I don't want people to
like conversion therapy.
No,
for you.
it was
I don't want people to watch Dirty Harry.
I think there is a very important role of the critic,
certainly
to be able to develop, as the name suggests, a sort of critical vocabulary and stance and approach to certain things. And I do think that there is, to whatever extent this episode circulates, there is a...
Hit the like and subscribe.
Right. Hit like, hit subscribe, share with your friend. There's a degree to which I think there's clearly a desire from people for a socialist film, for a communist film. And so if at the very least we could... commentate on what that has looked like, because I think that some people just haven't even really had any exposure.
If you don't watch films outside the US,
exactly.
or independent films in the US,
only watch
Robert
what
Kramer
gets
is
put,
an American filmmaker. Yeah.
Yes, if you only watch what gets put in front of you on the big screen, the biggest screen,
or
then you're not
Netflix, I guess.
Right.
Because if you had,
I mean, this movie. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
And because I think the other thing is that it's I think when people were thinking about theaters dying, people have been really going to the cinema.
Yeah.
And so there's also the degree of like the social aspect of these films, and what that does, and so it's clear it doesn't stand in for the factory, but I think there's some kind of sociality that's starting to take shape again around cinema, which is maybe another reason that it's important to sort of intervene in the reception of a film.
That's so true.
I think that's a good response to your concern.
Super true. Because for a minute, so media perspective, I guess, media professional perspective is like the talk was that Gen Z doesn't go to see movies. We've lost Gen Alpha. Movie theaters are going to be gone. But I think despite the talk that everyone's going to be so nicheified that there is going to be no monocultural objects for everyone to share and have relationality over. I think you're right. I think that film is like people are going all ages to the theater right now. Yeah. You seem.
I mean, I also think that it's I think it's so mythical because even right now we're dealing with the World Cup. So many people going to that, traveling and dealing with the most absurd U.S. lack of transit infrastructure to go to these games. And then like the Knicks. So I think that there's actually, there's very particular things that they want to be the zeitgeist. And I think it's things that are perhaps more explicitly like you're just supposed to shut up and do your sport. Things that are supposed to be kind of like antithetical to genuine critique. You can gather around those, but things that might actually like are more in your face about whatever is
totally
I mean the US's treatment, like hosting whatever, and like how they just have been pulling passports from countries that Trump has banned has become a discourse of the point around who can, all that shit. But
regarding, I don't know if you're finished with your relationship. Okay. Yeah. I had a quote from, I it was enjoyable to read her because I love her, or maybe they would be a they now, I don't know, but no longer with us, Tony K. Bambara.
Oh.
And it's about Spike Lee, but I think it really applies to Boots Riley, who I vaguely listened to the Coup in college. I didn't really like them because I would only meet white people who didn't listen to hip hop who liked them. That's not meant to be a read. It's just, and it felt really racist. Like that they're like, oh, this is one of the good ones. And it's like, they did the same thing with Kanye West. So it's not like a read on the Coup. It's just like how kind of college circuit rap works. And I just really hated that. I don't know if you had this experience. We went to similar schools. So this is a quote from Tony K. Bambara. Many spectators are willing to provide, I'll truncate it a little. Many spectators are willing to provide, and she's talking about the movie School Days by Spike Lee, 1988. Perhaps people have seen it. Many spectators are willing to provide the interrogation missing in the representation on screen because of the progressive features. The themes of color and apartheid, the pro-Afro aesthetic, the music, she says, other things. Many spectators do not view the film as separate from the figure, Spike Lee, behind it, or the emerging movement, I would put in big quotes, the figure is part of. I feel very similar about Boots Riley, that it is, people are, you asked about the reactions, people are inferring a lot. Like to Didi's point, I don't remember the word communist being in the movie. The definition, I'm putting in big square quotes for anyone listening to the audio, of dialectical materialism is deeply questionable at best. That's me being very nice. It's just wrong. I mean, this is a kind way to put it as well. And I think a lot of people, to your point about like wanting there to be something, are really kind to will it from, a corpse of a movie, to be honest. Like it is really, which is ironic to say because it's overly animated as well. We can talk about the practical. We can call it maximalist. Yeah. Maximalism can be done well. This is not one of those cases. So maybe it feels, like we don't want to say maximalist is poorly constructed equals bad. Like
my adjective is assaultive.
I think.
When I walked out of the theater, I felt that way, but we can break down why that was, and I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. So that's my relationship.
Yeah. I mean, also the Coup is my entree to Boots Riley. Okay. The party music album, and specifically, and he got a lot of cred from the people in my college. Reed College in Portland, Oregon.
What were the complexions of those individuals?
It was a 90% white school that I went to, and the Coup, that was their most famous album. In large part, it felt like it was related to the media swarming them around the cover, the 9/11 cover. Boots did, I guess, to his credit, it was a comment on the media's whitewashing of like, why would somebody want to attack the US? And that was like where I left it up until Sorry to Bother You. That was kind of a blip. But of course, like I am like the reason for doing these episodes in part is because I do like seeing the Bay depicted on screen.
Oh, I'll watch any movie with, particularly San Francisco, but even San Francisco or Oakland in it.
Yeah, and it was shot in Atlanta though.
A lot of it was shot in Atlanta.
Which
I feel like really some kind of way about.
Well, let's talk about.
You're from Oakland. I don't know if that's outing you as a person from Oakland. I'm sure you're very proud of it. Like,
very proud.
That feels, because Oakland's is even far less represented in films. You have like Spaces the Place. You have a couple.
I'm a Virgo has
Fearless,
a lot of Oakland in it.
No, that's shot in New Orleans a lot.
Oh.
Yeah. Which also, I wonder about the union politics.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I mean, because is that why people shoot in this place?
In Atlanta,
maybe we're unprofessional.
So you want to ask my relationship to?
You would have the longest. Yeah.
The Bay is represented in both of his other
projects. Let's call them movies. I hate the term project. I'm sorry.
Well, one's a TV show.
One is a TV show, though. Yes.
Yeah. And this one we have. Like the part that I liked the most, it was the most like inside joke kind of Bay like reference was the Millennium Tower.
Sure.
Which
wait, did you finish your relationship or you didn't?
Yeah. Because I mean beyond that, like in the intro that I already recorded, I talked a little bit about how like I know more of his dad actually. Walter Riley.
His dad was cool. Was our lawyer? Are we allowed to say? Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, was the lawyer on the Bay Bridge?
Yeah, they were. Oh, they helped. Or we didn't.
I think he's him.
Sorry, I do that a lot with him.
Do you want to briefly say what happened on the Bay Bridge?
No, that's
that was the first.
It's on one of the episodes.
Okay,
you can listen to the.
I'll link.
Make sure you put the link. Yeah, put the little.
There was a
link in the
blockade
description
that
below.
happened.
Link in the description below. While you're looking down there, hit the like, hit the subscribe, get the bell.
Walter Riley, please do. Walter Riley was representing protesters, has been throughout his life, and so I guess because of that relationship to his dad, like I expect that a lot of his politics were informed by both his family upbringing, but also like being in the Bay, apparently around some of the people that would have been in the circles that his dad traveled in, the protesters. Like at one point, Walter Riley, was talking to Malcolm X at public events. And so that infuses itself a bit. We see representation of left Bay shit. There's some locals.
Which, not that we don't have to go into the mix. I know you haven't said your piece, but I will say one thing that's curious is there is very little Bay Area organizing history in any of his films, particularly this one. I think that's always fascinating to me, that if I were going to make a film here, I'd be like, this is such a rich area historically in many ways, especially activism-wise. I can't recall a real... Usually, like all the struggles in his movies are fictionalized. I feel like that strikes me as... Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like that's I don't know. I feel like that's a calculation on his part, because even his music, he doesn't get into anything in particular historical. Like he makes references. Mostly that's what he does. Like he'll have a simile, like he'll be like Mao Mao, or he'll say, but it's never like he doesn't unpack those things, because I think it's a calculation that it'll become disinteresting to an audience. Is probably the approach to masses.
That's the whole critique of the masses.
Yeah, which is a whole. I think that's why he does it, and
And you are a deep listener to the music.
Right? Are you finished?
Yeah,
you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
just go.
Like back in the day, I got introduced to the Coup in the 90s. By my cousin, who also put me onto like Ice Cube at that time, who had like sort of the death certificate. It was like the Afrocentric moment, the conscious rap moment. And so I have been deeply inspired by the Coup's music and by Boots Riley. And so what I've struggled with is figuring out how to reconcile that with this output, which I generally have disliked.
You mean the cinematic output?
Yes, his cinematic output. Also, like, at a certain point, like, his first album, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I want to break. Are we breaking that down? Are we doing that? The discography or whatever?
We can.
Yeah, I don't really want to do that. But like,
briefly say something about his music. Summarize.
His early music is just incredibly inspiring. I mean, he said something about that. I went to go see him talk at City Arts Lectures last week. That was a trip again on the white audience issue, and it did feel like it was in Hayes Valley, which is a very strange venue.
Sidney Goldstein?
I think so, yeah. The Sidney Goldstein Theater. And like, it occurred to me across from Red Radish, where we shouldn't we should make
they might roll up on us. You don't know.
But anyway, you can roll up on us. I don't give a fuck. Take me out.
Wow.
Yeah, it was whatever. I said what I said. But anyway.
She's about the Bay.
No, it was like a discovery at that moment that it was like, Hayes Valley, it felt like it's a stronghold for the DSA or something, because, at one point, he was being interviewed by someone from KQED, I forget who it was, and he was like, how many people in the audience have seen the whole crowd exploded in applause. Had seen the movie. And I'm just like, and
it was like a week after it came out, right?
It literally a week after it came out, which is, I'm just like,
I mean, in the same way that La Russell also makes a little cameo in the movie, and he also has a local
during the mall scene, he's in the background.
Will go and protests for La Russell. That happened earlier this year.
Yeah,
his mom
not get into that's a whole other
got up, did a speech because La Russell was getting dragged on the internet. Anyway,
but like, I mean, the music is just immensely. I mean, the Coup is and was and probably still is like the West Coast Public Enemy. Like, I can't really think of an equivalent. And sort of the first album, Kill My Landlord, is just an amazing album. There's just like a lot of, I don't know.
It's a good title.
yeah, I was gonna do a quote from one of the songs I like, but I don't know if that's ridiculous. But yeah. Sure. He has his line. Capitalism is like a spider. The web is growing tighter. I'm struggling like a fighter. Just trooping loose and like a noose asphyxiation sets in. As soon as I break free, it seems to be the spider steps in. The web is made of money, made of greed, made of me, or what I have become in a parasite economy. I mean, I don't know anyone who's written a line like that. And it's
famous-ish.
Yeah, that one is? Oh, yeah.
No, I mean, like, don't you think there are leftist rappers that are just not famous? Is that not the case? I
mean, there probably definitely are, but I think at that time there wasn't a lot to really compare it to, and like I feel to this. I mean, I'm struggling to. I mean, I stopped listening to music as much as I do, but like it's just interesting. Like, what's his face? Vince Staples released an album that's like very political. It's kind of a metal album, so like it's interesting the direction. It's like his first album, you know, the Coup's first album. The sound was like very soulful and very slow. And then with the second album is another, you know, was a really big song, I think. But then according to his story, it got super repressed by the industry. The second album was Genocide and Juice. And the song was like Fat Cats, Bigger Fish. And it's just like, I don't know, the way the style of the song was very interesting. It kind of like sort of was breaking. It's like the first album sort of came out in the context of like No Need for Alarm, like that's like Del the Funky Homo Sapiens album, and like 93 till like Souls of Mischief, sort of like a lot of the instrumentation or the samples had that kind of feel to it. And then the second album sort of went kind of a different sort of like a different kind of direction. There's like strings and stuff, and it's hard to tell. I can't remember. I mean, it said on whosampled.com that it was an interpolation, but it sounds like it's a sample. But like a lot more soulful samples. And then, no, the Fat Cats Bigger Fish song. This is where I think the cinema like wanting to be a cinematic. It sort of is a storytelling rap. It's like a hustler who is like trying to get stuff on the street. He like tries to hustle a burger out of a place working. He like tries to flirt with the cashier to get a burger, and then he like goes into a parking structure to eat the burger, runs into someone, and he's like, oh, you know, someone who looks very similar to him. And he says he's just come out of like, he's like working this like fancy dinner. And, you know, he wants to leave. And so he swaps he puts on his uniform and goes into this thing. And then it's like the CEOs of like, you know, major corporations talking about wanting to gentrify Oakland to make money. And it's just like, there's nothing really like that in rap music. Like there aren't usually, I mean, I don't know. So like, so that's the second album. The third album is sort of, I don't want to go the whole discography, but like.
Yes, you do.
The recent.
You've been studying us, man.
The recent, I mean, I was really
you
like.
You don't gotta be shy about it. You did your research.
Before I moved here in 96, I remember like I wanted to become a gay member of the Coup. That was like a secret ambition of mine.
That's so sweet.
Even though he has, you know, some songs are sort of weird. There's like famously, there's like a song like The Liberation of Lonzo Williams, where they sort of refer to getting fucked in the ass in the negative. So I don't know, but I still thought, you know,
there might have been some homophobia in rap. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, no, it's shocking. I mean, it's probably
never happened.
If we could talk about it later, how like, you know,
Just
representing
trying to put the black
Bay,
man down.
I know.
like representing
what
the
do you
Bay.
think y'all usually be doing?
But like sort of, you know, black cinematic representations of the Bay that tend to absent like trans and queerness, which is very bizarre to do considering like, you know, Marlon Riggs, all the shit in Oakland. But anyway, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say, I don't want to jump out of your discography, but I wonder, not that it should be the reason the movie was so bad or like an excuse, but I wonder how much he's projecting his relationship to rap onto film, both the sample, because I mean, we do live in an era, it is generally the case of constant reference cinema, you know, which I think is really unfortunate, to put it mildly.
I feel like it comes from hip hop.
And I mean, I'm sure other things too. I mean, there's unfortunately a director who we won't mention, probably an occupied settlement, maybe an Iranian missile. Maybe an Iranian missile will do its thing. But yeah. So I think there's some of that. But then I also think a lot of what you're talking about where I wouldn't necessarily have this context because I was pretty young when it came out, but like thinking, oh, he's the only leftist rapper. Because in some ways I've seen the way he circulates as a filmmaker and he kind of acts like that. And I'm like, there's, as we know, tons of leftist films that use the word communism, that use the word, all these things.
That are better movies,
And that, to the point, talk about ideas. It's not like talking about ideas in film is unique. And not that we, a lot of people have weirdly compared this film to Wes Anderson, which I'm not a big Wes Anderson fan, but Wes Anderson can make a movie more competently than this. But even those movies have a lot of description and discursive, like they're very direct. Like
the
this
text is literally
this
on
person
screen.
lived in the house on 24th Street. So it's not like people don't have this in cinema now. If anything, people have it.
I mean, he might be struggling with his audience. I think a lot of rappers do this. I mean, that's the reason why I stopped doing music is because I didn't want to perform for rap people, similar to like No Name or whatever, but it was just like, there's just an aspect to hip hop where it has a massive white fan base and you just have to kind of deal with it or like not, which is interesting because like Vince Staples tries to struggle with that on his recent album because he's just trying to be like, I want to be able to do this and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, it often feels like it's a performative dilemma. I just feel like you can't go into hip hop and be like, oh, white folks are not going to listen to it. I mean, I feel that like
and if you do it too self-consciously, then they're going to do it even more.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that like the more that you try to like, this is for a Black audience, white people are going to find it. And they're just going to like, it might take time, but eventually, and this is like, you just have to, I don't know. Anyway.
I would not say, would anyone say this about this film though too? I don't think, because again, he's said in a lot of interviews, which I unfortunately have watched them all. This is also why I wanted to do this now, because I was like, I can't watch any more of these interviews. I can't have this man's voice in my head, like, and his ideas about whatever, and the hat and all this. But he seems to suggest, oh, I want this to get outside. Not that, I don't know if he has a built-in Black audience. I mean, unfortunately, we go up for everything. To a fault. I mean, honestly, like Black people will go, especially for a Black man, will just go up. Oh, I'm gonna see it 10 times. It does seem like Black people.
It's also just the regular constant argument, which is, if we don't support the independent Black cinema, especially opening weekend, okay, just run the numbers. So first and foremost, there aren't that many Black people in this country.
Yeah, there's that.
We've never made a thing happen.
Exactly. That's just the
not
sort
since
of
the 1800s.
Exactly.
Right. Goodness gracious. That's going to be the dependency. If anything, it's really the crossover thing. Like it's always been a sort of mythological thing that I'm sure executives for films will say like, oh, we don't do Black films because there's no audience for it. That's always what's said around whether it's exactly. But I mean, it's the same thing. Been the same thing for books. Oh, Black people don't read books, and that's why there aren't Black lists for editors that make publishing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's never been the case, but that's the fact is, Black people do not decide the conditions less than any other demographic probably. Do not decide the conditions under which things will be funded, circulated, et cetera. Film is one of the most capital intensive. You can't sling a film out of your trunk the way you could have mixed it. I mean, I know something.
Let's try it.
I mean, we gotta go. We gotta get back to Pimp My Ride and put the little. Gotta put the big screen in the trunk. Exactly.
But just to.
So that's a really major thing, and I think that's a part of the kind of issue. I mean, the majority of the screenings that I'm sure happen are predominantly white audiences. And I think there is, again, it's been a constant sort of fetish for leftists in the US since like the 20s. Sort of find their kind of delectable Negro who's gonna, just be able to be a kind of figurehead, not gonna push back too much, is gonna along for the ride and, present themselves as if they're, the best thing since sliced bread.
If anything, I feel like he is like a white DSA bro. Don't play about Boots Riley. Like that's who's like, that's who's good. Like I don't really think Black people defend him because it's like whatever. He's got
a solid, but it's for different reasons. It's for different reasons. It seems more honestly related to the absurdism and the kind of constant critique that happened with Black moviegoers. I don't want to see trauma in my movie. Blah. So the fact that this, so I think people were. What I was seeing was people really clinging to the fact that it was experimental,
big quotes,
subversive, surrealist, absurdist. Yes, a lot of quotes for the listening audience. And so I think that's a part of it. Is also the clamoring, and I feel like I've told that to people when it came down to Sinners too, was that one of the things I can't stand is the sort of limited options that Black people get in terms of Black films, like what you're going to get to see, go to an actual cinema, a major cinema. You don't have to, find the one screening that's happening on a Thursday night at 4 p.m. while everybody's at work, because that's where they program independent Black cinema 9 times out of 10. What's readily available Black cinema, I think, it's the pits.
Yeah.
That said, it is much cheaper to make an album.
Yeah,
and
too.
were you finished? Yeah.
No, I was just going to
music?
say, I just feel like, so like, yeah, I mean, probably of the one person, like I consider the work of Boots Riley to have been incredibly inspiring, but his recent discography to speak to the audience question does reflect a changing Oakland, like a gentrified Oakland. And like, I really felt that like, sort of the sound of God, what is it called again? Pick a Bigger. I don't know. Really like Sorry to Bother You, which is the I don't know if it's the soundtrack of the movie. I can't remember. Maybe some of the songs in the movie, but it sounds like the Art Murmur in a lot of ways. Like I don't know if listeners are familiar with the Art Murmur, which is like I forgot how. I mean, it started on Telegraph. It's just like this.
It's like an art walk. Yeah.
Yeah. Which,
wine and art.
Which a lot of his this film in particular, but a lot of his creative output, probably since does feel like it's culturally kin to that particular idea of Oakland, and it's attempting to maybe use that in order to allegedly push the dialectical materialist, get people to talk about labor organizing or something, or thinking about it. Like I think that. On an interview that I did watch with him, he said something about how some people saw the film and they were inspired to organize their workplace, so it's just like, I don't know, like,
that was
I think
short amount of time, which is great,
Are we?
On top of,
like that? On top of
like, what we're doing today, and like, just like my general question around like, not wanting to encourage, because I feel like, I mean, I don't think anyone should see Dirty Harry. I kind of don't feel like
I think it's a better movie than that.
Right.
But
As
also,
you
can learn something from watching Dirty Harry.
I think I'm worried that it might encourage people to watch the film, which I don't know.
Dirty Harry?
Like it because
people are going to watch it.
I Love Boosters.
Right,
I don't know. I just trip on that, and
we're
just,
not
like,
making or breaking the tickets.
I just sort of trip on that for some reason, because I feel that like you're just sort of participating in this. I don't know.
Well, no, that is helpful for context where you're coming from as far as Boots, because again, he is kind of center to this conversation. I think next we could talk about politics, which we have already touched on.
You alluded to a little, yeah.
I guess we could start with something.
What he claims is the center of the movie, right? Or like
sure.
why he makes
the revolution sexy.
Yeah.
So
it's like trying to reconcile the factory with the shoplifters or something.
And I mean, apparently, if we're thinking about like the shoplifting specifically, apparently a lot of people are pissed off about that part of it. There was an antagonism from people who want law and order that this disrupted a bit.
This was my hope for the film, right? Because I think he's probably said this, but I thought that the film would have something to do with the Louis Vuitton thing that happened on Black Friday a couple of years ago, where our black mayor at that time, London Breed, said that she was going to crack down on it, and like the footage, whatever the footage that went on the news, it seemed like it was mostly like allegedly a bunch of black folks who drove in with a car and made off with all their purses and stuff. And then it was just interesting. Since then, like all the high security that's happened, like there's now like a barricade proof, like the thing that they put around banks or things that they think people are going to crash through and do whatever. And so like I thought it was going to be kind of a commentary on that, or it's like a reflection on that, because he said I guess the I Love Boosters song would have came out like before that happened, because the I Love Boosters song is on Pick a Bigger Weapon.
The other point that's worth making is every movie he's made, except for I don't know about the Emma Virgo, is based on a song title.
No, just this and
Sorry to Bother You too, right? As an album, right?
I think Sorry to Bother You became an album, but it wasn't based on a song. But yes, I Love Boosters was a song on Pick a Bigger Weapon. It came out in 2006, which was before this happened. When did this happen? Was it during the pandemic?
Yeah, it was like 2020, 2021.
It was the Black Friday. I remember that distinctly. But like, so I thought they would have something to say about that and this, the policing and all these different things, and it kind of doesn't really. It's more interested into the politics of the film is trying to be like, is trying to attack consumer culture, like at both ends, like the commodity fetish and stuff, like the fandom for the Demi Moore, her line, at the other end, the people who are producing this stuff, who are destroying their lives, outside of the US,
Yeah. The clothing line. Yeah.
The supply chain.
We could start though, like maybe rewind. Off screen. like there was some drama just after it came out about how the movie itself was funded.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we have to bring that up.
Lots of
Ellison's.
discourse.
Don't hear communism. Don't hear a free Palestine in this movie.
The film studio Annapurna is the film studio that also financed his other work as well.
I'm not sure about the
Really?
show. Yeah, sorry to bother you. Is the same.
That might have just been
Oh, wow.
Amazon Studios.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
But
I mean, 6-1 on that one.
Annapurna.
Yeah, it's like Amazon too.
He argues that the Ellisons, this is like this media mogul family, like Succession, HBO show, Murdoch adjacent media
They just bought
conglomerate
Warner
owners.
Brothers.
Mega Zionist. Yeah.
Super Zionist.
CNN, they installed.
They have blacklists.
Even like pro-Trump, right? Too. I mean, like
They installed Barry Weiss
Yeah.
at something.
Yeah, Barry Weiss is at
Yeah.
CBS News, potentially CNN next, and
Getting rid of 60 Minutes.
she's super Zionists, turf, and the you know they want to they have blacklists of like directors and actors that they won't use on their projects. He argues that Annapurna, because it's owned by the daughter of this Ellison family, that she's like kind of the left.
Her billions are clean.
Yeah, I mean that she's kind of like the black sheep of the family.
Yeah.
And I don't know her, but ultimately, I mean, to get the money, $20 million to make a movie, some of that money is probably going to be tainted.
Yeah, and I mean his core claim, like we could read the actual tweet. I'm sorry I couldn't find it, but it was something like, well, in order to get a movie made for 20 million, which is that's a lot of money. That's maybe your prestige budget, like to compare. Probably 30 million is in the so-called prestige area. I think.
What was the budget for?
Sorry to bother you, was like 3 million or something.
But something like Get Out.
Get Out was like 5 million or something.
Oh, okay.
But that was the first movie. This is a third-ish movie, right?
Yeah.
And I think, comparison, like, I mean, again,
What about
for mainstream people watching, this is like double the budget of like Midsommar or one of those movies.
What was
to pick
what was the other movie?
for movies that had a lot of prosthetics too? Because these are
Bo
horror
was
movies.
Afraid. What was the
That was
budget?
35 million.
That was so it's
So that's a
comparable.
prestige. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's your so-called prestige. I mean, again, speaking in Hollywood, whatever you want to call it, speak, which obviously Hollywood's terrible and it's one of the reasons the movies are so bad. But yeah, so 20 million is in that ballpark of getting into like and I think we also have to talk about the politics because I think a lot of it is connected to his, sort of egoism of whatever for me. Because I think it's a good way where we started with the figure and why I started with the Tony K. Barbara quote. But yeah, there's that was his response to it. People can go in on it. It's not so much, because we also, it's like, well, okay, most major U.S. movies are funded by evil Zionists, whatever, or, fascists, whatever, all that is the same thing. Like, but it's his response to it, I think, was like, well, this is how you get a movie made. More or less, I think. Maybe, I don't know if Didi or someone else pulled it up who's
Yeah, I was trying to find the exact.
more handy. I found an article. I couldn't find the tweet, but
Tyler Perry didn't want to help him.
yeah. Which I think, a lot of this, it's the idea oh, you can only do things. It's funny because it kind of, to me, it does undercut some of the claims of the movie in terms of the content. That, right, like you have to break away from the normal way things are done or business as usual, whatever term you want to use. Like, no job or work is going to encourage you to form a union. And I kind of feel like it's, there's a kind of parallel there. That's like, well, okay, so the movie can be made in the most conventional way as far as we're.
I'll often, I always blame my secular humanism, and you can blame Boots for my secular humanism, but I do kind of feel that, like, if you want to make something, you can kind of do literally whatever you want. I mean, the technology, it's just, you can just figure it out. Like, it doesn't have to be like whatever your message is. Like, you don't need all that money to make
agree.
You know what I mean? Like, you kind of.
Especially he's already famous.
And
I mean, people would do free things for him. They would be in the movies for free. Like, there's people that, like, terrible example, but Richard Gere when he was in like a Kurosawa film, towards the end of Kurosawa's life, he was like, I'll do it for nothing.
Is that Jersey Lozala? What was that?
No, it was after that. It was the one, I forget what it's called.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, but yeah, something August, something.
Oh.
Yeah,
Rhapsody
in August or something.
Yeah.
Rhapsody
in August.
Yeah, and so like, I mean, and I'm not, it is to the spirit of like a kind of collectivism. And it's like, well-paid actors. Like there's all lots of, which we could also talk about the premise of the movie. Why are there all famous people in it? Da, 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 da. Like if they probably could shoot a small. Right? They could shoot a small movie on a whatever for free or very little money or whatever.
Yeah.
Do some kind of trade or it goes to show you like. I think that's something you could model to younger people. It's like, you don't have to do things the industry way, as opposed to be like, you have to do them the way. How dare you? Because I think it was probably a younger person he got in a fight with online. But how dare you question the way business is done? Which is so. I mean, I don't even know how you reconcile that with really any of the the ideas.
Like what Backrooms and
I was going to say,
Session
how
are
much is
at the top.
Backrooms? I was going to look it up.
They've made a lot of money on those movies.
At the box office currently.
Yeah.
Well, I think in someone I haven't been able to find the 20 million one, but somebody mentioned that Sundance hit Sorry to Bother You was 3 million, but then A Virgo was 53 million.
Holy shit.
That's because Amazon just kind of throws
also
money.
A show, but it wasn't that as a show. I don't think it was actually ultimately that long. It was probably like 4 or 5 hours, right, or something like that.
Yeah,
which was like a long movie.
6 episodes, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, Backrooms was 10 million.
Yeah.
So then we also have this question, like, is it even a $20 million? Didn't need 20 million. Like so many of the things that I would imagine kind of ran that budget up.
That set with Demi
did
Moore.
not need to be
the claymation,
do nothing.
The models.
The claymation.
And it just feels like one of those things, and this is this sort of kind of maybe critique of the sort of mimetic desires of many Black people. Is like, just wanting to have the money, wanting to be able to say, you know how much money we spent on
man, this one is a white person. Yeah,
exactly.
I think you're right.
That it's like a community good for Black folks if we can get Black money to.
And it reminds me a lot of Spike Lee growing up. Like he was always like, they're not going to give me the real money. He was like, just make the goddamn movie, man. Shut the fuck up. Like nobody can. Like it's like, especially when it's like, what do you? No, I think that's a really good point.
And then also, I think probably on his end to probably say like, oh no, you can get politically subversive films funded. Yeah. So like, then it becomes this whole thing of like, well, then what is considered politically subversive?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think I constantly am at odds with people who really want to foreclose the imagination of audience, community, etc. by claiming sort of a priori that they're just not at a certain place politically.
Yes.
So I have to meet people where they're at. Just making like
and then lead them.
Gross assumptions. These like gross assumptions that are made about like it's like you don't think highly of what you imagine to be your audience. Yeah. It's like, oh, you must think you just born yesterday. Have no sort of sense, like have no political imagination. No political horizon.
No aesthetic.
Right. Just give them anything. Especially being Black, being trans, being a dyke. I think people would want me to just accept any kind of scrap. I'm like, no. I refuse to do that. You're not going to just give me something and be like, well, you got something. You better be happy. Absolutely not. Yeah. I will refuse that. Well, you ain't really hungry if you ain't go. You ain't go eat what's put in front of you. No, absolutely not.
I mean, I was not supposed to say a bad thing about Crazy Rich Asians. Like the most pro-capitalist movie, obviously, but I Love Boosters reminded me a lot of one of the worst movies that come out in the last couple of years, The Substance, which it thinks its audience is not smart. I don't know how else to say that. Sorry, that's it thinks its audience cannot string together. The movie is. And it's kind of one of the thing where, I think it says a lot about the filmmaker, both as them being condescending, but it's actually probably a limit of the filmmaker is that they're not that smart, and that a lot of their so-called intelligence that's, or political perspectives that are so beyond the audience have actually not been interrogated or challenged to be deeper and more revolutionary radical. And I feel like that's very obvious in this. It's very obvious listening to his publicity tour is that it's actually not the audience who has such low expectations of the world as him. And I think that's a deeply, deeply cynical way to make a movie. And that's why I think the colors and all that stuff is just very ugly politically to me. Because I'm like, oh, you're all this shit. And then the end of the movie, obviously anyone watching this, spoilers, is that people strike to get like $5 more or
Full
something.
Spoilers, yes.
And I'm like, that is such a deeply pessimistic view of the movie. But it doesn't surprise me if you actually, to Didi's point, if you look at the audience as like, oh, they're not ready for the real revolution. I'm like, you're the one who's not ready for
Right,
the real
yeah.
revolution, whatever you want to call it. Like, and I think that is so deeply pessimistic. It's also kind of high key anti-black too. It's like, oh, these black people. It's like
Right.
we are. I mean,
They're
it's
not
like,
ready for all that.
I know it's like we have, you know. I think in a weird way, I will give Spike Lee his credit because I unfortunately rewatched School Days last night, and it's like you know, there's like slave revolt images, and there's some. I mean, you know, you can criticize, I think, very validly, and I would agree with Spike Lee kind of reducing all sort of black politics to culture, but there is a lot of images of like, you know, radical images, which there's not even like kind of a Malcolm X tone or anything like that to this or whatever, you know, or like the Black Panthers or whatever. It's all very mealy-mouthed kind of labor politics, which you as I talked about, even when you go back to like reading Engels, even Engels is like, trade unionism is not going to defend. It's actually going to expand capitalism, which is actually the history of unions.
We see it in the movie, though.
Yes, I mean it's so confusing. You're like, oh, fast fashion is bad, or fashion. I mean, really, just most fashion. What does fast fashion mean? It seems like it's depicting fast fashion, but it's actually like supposed to be couture fat. He doesn't also know anything about fashion, which is a little stunning. And it's like again. I think this probably speaks to the ego project of the film that no one else like came in there as like a consultant or another writer.
That's how
like,
movies are these days.
Actually, I think it's well, but this is like what he would say is like, oh, well, that's because it needs to be that way. But it's also, again, goes to the antithetical idea of like, well, then why don't you make a movie more collectively and more,
I mean,
we can.
Okay.
Yeah, no, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I found the response. And I think it's honestly like more insidious than just this idea of like taking 20 million, because so much of it is like premised upon
his tweet in response.
Yeah,
to the
you
criticism.
you just can't make a movie for theaters
Yeah.
without having Zionists involved at all. And you know, proceeds to do this whole thing of like, well, you're on YouTube, you're on Google by using Google
like that,
or YouTube.
Yeah.
Those are your business partners.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
really conflate signing a deal with Annapurna and like getting picked up from you know the Sundance for Sorry to Bother You, et cetera, to people using YouTube as a platform and making money from, you know, having subscribers, et cetera, and being like, well, YouTube and Google have given X amount of money to Israel for weapons, et cetera, and the Ellisons have only given this much.
Yeah,
you know.
I remember
that's
this
what
was
it
one of his
yeah.
replies. He had
that was
several,
one of the replies, and
kept doubling down.
Yeah, so it's like this whole thing of the idea that, you know, you can't make a film, you can't distribute it, and you can't. I mean, that, you know, your hands are tied.
Yeah.
That there's no way to be disentangled intentionally from Zionist politics and finances,
and specifically making them money too.
So yeah, it's right.
Yeah,
right.
So like, don't even try. But I was thinking about like when you're saying about the content, you know, the approach. Because I was thinking about is, you know, like the Coup's discography. Like what's interesting about how like the political messaging, which is the problem with the political messaging too. It's like something that we struggle with is people who try to do
there's propaganda.
Sirens, I'm not tripping on it. I know I'm louder than a siren, but so it's just like. It's hard to figure out how to turn politics into a plot. There's that problem. But I think that...
but he doesn't need to have a plot, but it goes to the lack of imagination.
It goes to the lack of imagination,
true.
True.
In a movie. Some of the best movies ever made.
Yeah, you don't have to have a plot. Yeah. But no, what I was trying to say is that sort of stylistically, I think the Coup is notable because their early music, what I really found inspiring about them is that they were kind of like low key with the, like, some of the songs are more explicit, but also like, you know, one of my favorite songs, I Know You. And it's like, it's basically like a fuck the police song. But it's a lot more intimate, and it feels like a lot more, say, like logistically, like realistic. Like if you were trying to create or live or come out of a kind of politicized culture, how you would just sort of have like a kind of casualness around. Like he's basically talking about this cop. He's going to go kill this cop is kind of the premise of the song. Like, I know you, I'm going to turn that blue suit purple, bastard. But, and I think that that's the approach that he has with his political messaging, is that he tries to sort of submerge it within certain things. Like, but I don't know if it translates to the film in the same way, because I think what he's trying to do is create something like a version of a Friday, which is like a stoner comedy, and try to have it be at that level of a film, but also have But you know, and I don't.
But that goes to Dini's point too, that he's like, "Oh, you black people." You
it's condescending. It's incredibly condescending.
Yeah.
But
I think younger people don't even get Friday or like it. But maybe
I mean,
it's a terrible.
I think that is his approach, and I think that that's kind of what I react to and what I'm not into. Like, I think that there's a way to do it, and I think he just hasn't figured it out yet. Like, hopefully, you know, if he does try to inflict,
she's very generous.
If he does try to inflict another film on us,
very dedicated to a good black man.
See,
if he does, if Boots does manage to inflict another film on us, maybe they'll figure it out and figure out how to balance those things. Because I don't know. I mean, anyway,
I think the thing is, you know, when you say, let me read this verbatim here. What I do is get millions involved in class struggle.
I move weight.
When
he
you
sounds like
have
a
that
gangster rapper
sense of overinflated ego, you're not going to get it right.
That's dangerous.
You're not actually
especially as you get older.
That's dangerous. Yeah.
And I think this whole like sort of sacrificial martyr complex that he has too. Yeah, it's
like the
ridiculous.
black artist. Yeah.
Like you didn't need to be squatting. You could have gone home and lived with your daddy.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff I'm like, we're middle class.
Let's keep it a beam. Your father is a lawyer.
Wait, he said he was
decorated.
squatting?
Yes, in the response to this. And it's like the thing is that's
kind of the history of the appropriation of hip hop too. Is like
the even nuttier thing is like the person that he's responding to is also just like diabolical, like, you know, person. So it's like you get caught up in, you know, these sort of like very empty critiques. And I say empty in the sense that I think they're meant to be these perversions, and then it becomes this sort of focal point. And I think it's like, I mean, it's similar to the sort of stuff with like the Chris Smalls, where it's like now, I mean, they have the media, this like kind of leftist media sphere has their sort of black figures that are their kind of, you know, relational touch points to be like, I'm hip, I'm down, keeping on with what's happening with the black struggle. Yeah. And it really just perverts it, and it really minimizes, you know, like the scope of what it can be. There's even just independent black cinema that comes out of this sort of black power movement. Plentiful. The idea that if Sorry to Bother You had not been made, you know, there would be no hope. People would be more likely to be critical about unions and labor organizing if they watched Finally Got the News than watching Sorry to Bother You.
Yeah. Well, it's like, it's what you're saying. It's like he kind of wants to be a Van Jones, and it's like part of his brand. It's like maybe
I'll allow it though.
How he's trying to maybe like pitch himself to you know, clueless executives that like, you know,
like, what would they do without me?
I think the thing is that is also, to me, we have had this debate where you feel it's the opposite, because you're like, I feel like he's trying to figure out how to do the politics. I think the politics is a grift to develop his career.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's what a black artist is. And for anyone like, and I also think
you should read Aesthetic Character of Blackness now.
I know. Aesthetic Character of Blackness.
Hey y'all.
I also think because it also is one of those things where you watch it and you're like, nothing radical is in this movie.
No.
I don't think, you know, like I only mention Ingalls because it's like, that's so day one marks, whatever, you know, even whatever. And it's like, this is a white dude in the 19th century.
Anti-during.
That was, like, you know, it does, you're not the most, you know, radical for coming up with it. And that, you know, and also it also feels like, to your point too, I think there's also something to be said about him not coming out of a black tradition, because black people have been criticizing unions for years for being
long time.
And there's
UAW literally used to be called You Ain't White, but now that's like the predominant union that grad student workers who should, you know, be studied on this stuff go through to get the recognition. I'm like, are you going to have any grappling with
and they
that
don't do anything to
not at all. They're just like, oh, you should just be so happy. Like,
you have a union.
That there's a union. And it's like, it's not even a century that black people have been allowed to be within unions. Like, I don't, like, why would they?
And they were mostly, it feels like, significantly allowed in a lot of these once they were significantly weakened too.
Yes,
you know?
It's like, oh damn, our numbers are down. But even like, I don't think most people would know that the practice of deducting dues directly from your checks instead of having like a separate, unions having to have a separate processing for that, was negotiated between UAW and the motor companies, because the union members used to strike against UAW. And they would strike by withholding their dues. Like, y'all aren't doing shit for us, especially black workers, but even more than black workers.
I mean,
so you have to, so it's not to get too far ahead of it, but that's where it's like, for a film that's being made in the 21st century to not at all grapple with that. And to suggest that it's like, oh, we need to, we should, you know, we shouldn't be too critical. It's a thing that Black people, I think, are often asked to swallow. It's like, oh, we can't get too far ahead of things. We can't be starting talking about how Black people get treated in this unions, thing because you know we need the union. So you know, y'all hush up, and don't be. But now's not the time. When is going to be the time?
Yeah, and it's also to the point that I think what's funny when you mentioned other movies is like these, you know. I would somewhat mainstream like Bill Duke's The Killing Floor. That was kind of a decent movie, and that's about Black people. And even Blue Collar, which is maybe Paul Schrader, super Zionist, right? Not, but it's like these people could make more, or actually Matewan too. Matewan has black. It has like it's not exclusively about the Black workers, but it is a lot. And James Earl Jones character. These are there's a lot of, in which we could also talk about exactly how like they have unions in Europe, and it's like it's not right. It feels very insular American. Like you're like, how are you making it? But I also don't get the sense it is part. That's why I think it's a grift, because I'm like, or you're to both of your points. Like you're not talking to anyone. You're not interested in having like an actual conversation. I don't think I've never seen him in an organizing space. I'm like that, but like
whatchamacallit, Daughters of the Dust has a better critique of property.
Yes,
and like the impact.
And she was not the most political of the Black, you know, like the shade. She was making good movies. She's always, you know, destined for Hollywood a little more. And a lot of her images and all that.
That has a better, you know, succession, inheritance, property, you know, bourgeois values, the kinship structure, like
I mean, whenever he does interviews, he's really trying to kind of exploit. This is like the cynicism of like, you know, he likes to talk about how there's been more labor organizing, more work stoppages in workplaces. And that's like part of his branding. Like, I don't think that, like we're saying, because he doesn't really do a good job. I mean, there's just better ways to talk about labor. Like, I feel that like of the two movies, like a lot of the issues, I mean, I don't know. We were kind of skipping around, but like, I think the thing that was disappointing to me about the ending of the film is that, so it seems like a co-op, an industrial co-op, like, is kind of the point of I Love Boosters, is that it ends with them being like, oh, we're just going to go back, but we're not going to do any more sandblasting of the jeans anymore, but we're still going to be and it's just like, it's very similar because it's really striking the kind of return to a status quo, which is like, again, this problem of like, again, doesn't, the movie ends and then they go back to the workplace. I'm sorry to bother you in similarly, right? So the whole movie, Regal View, right? Regal View is like
Boosters is just his I'm a feminist remix of I'm sorry to bother you.
That's why he couldn't write the women characters with any interiority. I mean, the one
they
thing
have no interiority.
The one thing that makes Sorry to Bother You.
They also have no sociality. Even if they didn't have interiority, you don't even have social relations. Like, it's just
And I think that's the one thing in Sorry to Bother You can kind of write, because you're like, oh, this is like an incel loser character, which then you're like, oh, it seems like he has insight into this character.
At the end of Sorry to Bother You, right? The whole, what was it, duty free or whatever called, worry free, right?
Yeah,
that's like who they're literally sent cops after them to kick their ass, and they fight with these people and Terminal Horse people. At the end of the movie, they're like, oh, I'm just like, you're going to go back to working the phones after that?
No, which is also not even a real job.
And like, why is this, I mean, again, I'm an anarchist, right? Like, I understand, like, I don't have any issues with socialism, but I think this idea that the workplace, like, making it, like, being part of industrial capital.
It's what trade unionism does, is the angle point again.
It's like you're invested in the machine.
It expands it, but that's also what he's.
But it's destroying the planet.
But it's also what he's doing.
But it's also back to Sheehan, take a little bit more money out of your paycheck.
It's also what he's doing to film.
What kind of message is this?
But it's also I
do think can't imagine anything else. I'm sorry.
I do think there's a relationship between this and Spike Lee too, where Spike Lee's thing was always they wouldn't let me in the industry. And then you look at, I mean, I was thinking about this. I don't want to get too far afield, but I was thinking about a film like School Days and how it made possible the racial reckoning film, or Do the Right Thing, made all these racial reckoning films in the 90s. And because then it was like white people, like, especially because Do the Right Thing was the watershed. You see like white actors, they'll be like, oh, I saw Do the Right Thing in theater, especially like white ethnic New York actors. And that changed my, like, not even ethnic, like it'll be like Ethan Hawke or the the dude from The Sopranos, Micro Imperioli, who'll be like, "Oh, this movie changed my." I watched a lot of the Criterion Closet episodes, but anyway, it's true of a lot of white people. They'll be like, "That was the movie." They don't really watch black film. They're like, "That was the movie."
Right.
Yeah. And it is. And then in the 90s, you'll see all these awful racial reckoning films, which very similar to School Days is Higher Learning. So you see all these white people making movies about like, oh, what if we? And I think it's actually what the black filmmaker does to I think a lot of what y'all are saying is that he wants to be the edgy one inside their circle. Yeah. If he wanted to make a movie about communism, pick up your fucking phone and make it then. Like nobody is. I mean, that's what a much better filmmaker than collectively. Bellatar says that. There's, I mean, Godard said things like that to the ends of his life. We don't talk about the horrible Godard reference in the movie.
God, it's like, what are you doing?
I'm sure he's never watched it. Or
make a movie like Here and Elsewhere. Like make a movie about Palestine.
Yeah, he could. Yeah, it's like, which is also not mentioned. Yeah, and it's to the point where you're like, oh, he's not interested in these things. I think he wants to be the funky communist, like you've said a lot of interviews in these circles, like, oh, that's the leftisty guy. I think he's almost making them for that Hollywood Arnold crowd or whatever. That
as someone who attended private schooling and endured that position of the sort of like, even if I wasn't actually edgy, even if I wasn't, all that subversive, whatever, just being black figures you as this subversive entity within that social sphere. He feels like the kind of person who like really thrives on that.
Oh, he's dancing around.
Like,
he got his hat on.
He's just like the dancing monkey in the leftist circles. And no, I mean, happy to just be this kind of like sideshow. I mean,
not the cool kind of sideshow.
Exactly. And not the kind of Oakland kind of sideshow. But this is the thing. And he can just continually kind of, market himself as like, oh, he's not even saying I'm from the town. I'm from Oakland. That's how I know you're square. It's always, I'm from Oakland. Oakland is so important to be buried. Never you go here, I'm from the town.
I want to know the neighborhood too. Is it Montclair? Where is it?
It's like somewhere where's 94610? What part of the
94610?
Because that's from an early Coup song.
Oh, 94612 is downtown Oakland.
Okay.
So 94610, I would imagine is probably relatively close. But like that's just my whole thing.
It's probably changed since then too.
It's this constant sort of extraction.
Yes.
And this sort of appropriation.
Yes.
Or even to say like if you wanted to be like imagine yourself as doing some kind of third cinema thing, why not just have actual local actors?
Right.
There?
Yeah.
Right.
Why do you need a $20 million budget so you can have Don Cheadle and Kiki Palmer and to reprise?
You can't trust the lumpen.
No, but it also is. This is again where I think he's fraudulent because it is just like
he's not doing a Safdie thing.
And I don't even need any nigga authenticity, but I think it's the fact that he sells it.
Yeah. And I think it is also, again, I mean, it doesn't, it seems like he kind of hates film, which is, yes, point taken from watching the movie that you hate film because it was a violent experience to watch because it was so exhausting. Like. And I do think there are people that very famous. I mean, Bresson didn't want to use stars for this reason. He's like, when someone's watching a film, they're watching the stars. They're watching Jean Gabon. They're watching, and so people are not. And I think but he wants people to be doing that. He wants someone to go, again, how little he thinks of the audience. Oh, Kiki Palmer in this? Oh, I'm going to go watch it. Like he thinks people are
That's what's going to sell socialism. It's like not actually the promise of it.
Yeah.
Like I don't, it's like you don't even believe in socialism.
No, you don't. Yes, he doesn't. It's a deeply cynical project. I think and that's what's very troubling is that, and
maybe he's wrestling with it. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
you are so generous.
She gonna stand up for her man. She gonna stand up for her man.
She called him to the red table and I call back to that dude. No, and I think to me that's the thing where I'm like, this is just so you can only make movies one way. I'm like, well, yeah, if you want. I mean, what is Kiki Palmer in like the percentile?
She's also an executive producer on it.
And if you were to look at movies to your union point, how many actors are there in the Screen Actors Guild union? What would Kiki Palmer would represent 0.0001 of the highest paid, right? I mean, because she's not, she's not, Angelina Jolie or whatever, someone that famous, but as far as how many people try to be actors versus how many people make a full-on living, I don't know if she makes money, but like
that is true.
That's and so it is to your point again, like, oh, the 20 million and you can only make a movie this way. I'm like, you could ask some, they're great. It's kind of also goes back to, I think, again, this criticism an older criticism a lot of black actors had of directors using your favorite rappers in movies.
Yeah.
And that they were always doing it because they were like, all these black people eat this shit up. They don't know shit. And
exactly,
they see Ice Cube on the screen, they'll just...
Right, they go see Cameron.
They just,
yeah.
they gonna eat it up. And a lot of black actors would be like, man, I trained for 30 years to do this shit.
Right,
You can't even hire... And I'm not saying, you know,
it's
he
like
can run
comment
as an actor.
or
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because
funny.
whatchamacallit has this critique of it. And
Yeah.
like, you know, he kind of also hates black people, but Carter G. Woodson like had that critique back in the 20s. I mean, he's like constantly going on about like he hates field hollers and all, you know, all that funky, you know, wild Negro stuff.
It was a very Harlem Renaissance
uppity
too.
Negro,
I mean, other than a couple.
But even
people,
he was like, no, like there is actual work to be studied.
Yeah,
you know, like we should invest in drama. Who has a more dramatic story to be told than us?
Yeah.
Like, and it should be trained. We cannot just go off of we are creative people, but we should really invest our resources into, you know, supporting our artistic endeavors.
Yeah. I mean, the style of the movie is, you know, it's like a weird mix because I mean, I did describe it as being like a stoner comedy, but has this assaultive aspect to it. I was watching it again and it's assault. It was for me, it was just like me trying to reconcile what it was trying to, I don't know, but like, there has been an issue with like a lot of, you know, in streamers and all different things with like things coming out where it feels like there were like no notes, but it's also the strange thing where it does feel like he is thinking maybe too much about what the studio wants because like you're saying, you know, the comparison with the substance and the way that the information is presented, I think it's done to be like second screened. Like it's sort of this idea, you know, it's like a protocol that goes out for streaming films to where, you know, don't do this, don't do that. Where I think he's trying to negotiate that in some, I don't know if his movie meets the test for that. Because like on the one hand, it does feel laid back. It does feel like, I think, again, to the point of like the hostility towards cinema, like my impression is that he just doesn't, I got this impression with Sorry to Bother You that like he's just, and definitely with I'm a Virgo, he feels to be just as satisfied with just maybe, you know, showing this large character, you know, eating food real fast or whatever with like conveying, like they sort of have an equivalence to him, which is very kind of,
it undercuts the claim.
It undercuts
the centrality
everything
of the politics.
It's just like I need to have these claymation skinless people in here.
Yeah,
and I was like, what are we doing?
Right. Yeah,
it's a complicated thing, but I think so. In an interview, I mean, he for people that you know, so please, you don't have to watch all these interviews because we unfortunately
don't.
You know, a lot of his favorite movies, people that he mentioned, we could talk about Michel Gondry. He mentioned, which again is a funny one because you're like, white, not. I mean, he could be a leftist person in his life, but none of his movies would I go, oh, these are particularly.
When I saw him, he said E.T. and the Goonies.
He's E.T. and the Goonies.
So I rewatched the Goonies, couldn't find E.T.
Yeah, and I mean Steven Spielberg, by famous, you know, like ultra Zionist.
Yes.
You know, I mean, there's so, and the relationship to young people being in movies is very creepy. But allegedly, so we don't get a lawsuit. And so. But and then another movie he mentioned, which we rewatched together because you had never seen it. Right?
Playtime.
We watched it. You'd never seen it. It was Playtime.
He could make a Playtime.
No, and I think if anyone has ever seen Playtime, this is also a movie someone like Ari Aster has influenced. It feels like there's a lot more similarities between this film and an Ari Aster film than there is between, I don't know, anything in a kind of black cinematic tradition, to the extent that he probably would say he doesn't want to talk to anyway because it's not the masses enough. But I think what people like about Playtime or what people like about Michel Gondry or someone like Wes Anderson is that what you see from them is this control. And what a director is supposed to now, because unfortunately auteurism has become this regressive thing, that I think it's supposed to indicate a kind of mastery rather than the movie being centered. It's about the ego project. This kind of goes to your original question about
market value
the brand of the director. And so you want this to be like, oh, this is a Yorgos Lanthimos film because someone got hit with a baseball bat out of nowhere, you know, or whatever. Or like, I mean, you know, probably this all comes from Haneke to some extent, or Quentin Tarantino, we don't. So I guess we said his name. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
But where it's like, you know, it becomes this idea that everything is reduced to device or gimmick, and those kinds of things show the authority and the control of the director, and they're often used to antagonize or manipulate the audience. Yeah. He would not claim that, but if you see people like Haneke interviewed, or obviously Quentin Tarantino, or people like Gaspar Noé, or a lot of these people, they have this claim where they're like, oh, I want to make the audience uncomfortable. I wanted it. And so it is a kind of, I would call it like a gimmification of cinema. And I think you can accuse some of that in the same way someone, to make a softer example, like Michel Gondry, a lot of his films are this really cloying sentiment, and they're kind of carried through these absurd gimmicks. You probably remember Science of Sleep, or He did Eternal Sunshine. Yeah.
I hate
like
it.
I can't
I refuse
stand
to
it.
watch it. Yeah.
It's also, I mean, those are also films that if you're learning to make film, they're very terrible because they can't, none of these can stage a single scene. There was a lot of like weird montages, a lot of aggressive, breaking of, anyway, so we don't have to.
Which I think plays into the metrics of second screenability, like the attention span of the audience.
Yeah.
Like
people
you need to break things
not,
up.
There's not,
it's a little
and
fragmented.
Yeah, and movie like Playtime, to the extent, I have issues with it too, but I think it's a movie where you're like supposed to look closely. Like, oh, that person was doing that. I watch it again, and there's this or that, or even like a Buster Keaton movie, like, oh, how did they do that?
Right.
This is something, the way he uses background in his films, which again, if you were really doing a Marxist something, you could say, okay, why is, what's the background in the film? Is that, like, there could be a political connotation to background, which of course there would be. But it's just constantly filled. It's overstuffed with stuff.
Yeah.
Because he kind of wants people to go, oh, the one guy,
right.
put a lot of stuff in a movie. Almost
like
he made it's like a TGI Fridays where you're supposed to walk in and go, oh, they put that sign up. Oh, that says alligator crossing, but there's no alligators here. Like it's this kind of, it's almost like it reminds me of Family Guy. Then it reminds me of anything.
It's like contentified. Like he's like filling it with stuff.
Yeah, right. Just packed to the brim.
I mean, I don't know if we're going to get to talking about the individual elements of the film, but say, the pinky ring guy doesn't need to be.
Character.
It doesn't like if you're trying to talk about labor organizing, pinky ring guy has nothing to do with it.
No, it didn't.
Well, no, see, but this is where I felt like it very much gave. Well, I mean, we'll get into it. The yellow fever.
In the movie, the weird Asian.
Yes, there's that, but then it's also the like the sort of misogynoir, like the idea that you have this goal that you're trying to get to, and some just like random ass niggas, gonna lead you astray.
Yeah.
But I'm like, of that 20 mil for the budget, it's probably like 10 million was probably like turning Lakeith into that weird parasite and getting the Prince sample cleared for that scene.
Right.
There's 10 mil right there. It's on bullshit. Yeah. Throw in that Eric Andre cameo.
Which was like propaganda.
Yeah, right.
It was like, Zadie Khan's in there. Yeah. And I was like, it's
the meat suit people. It's like Don Cheadle. There's there's 19 of your 20 million probably.
Literally taking that out of the film would have made this a slightly better film.
I guess, that like
shorter too.
You put so much into it that anybody who sees the movie can take something positive and take it away. But then
a rewatch, which is very
presumptuous. But I see the thing is, I think when people would say that for something like Playtime or with this lesson,
sure.
I really think it's supposed to communicate an idea of mastery. And I think the other thing I would say to that tweet that Dee brought up is, you see the budget on the screen, which is very much a business person. Like you see the budget on the runway, you see the budget on the and it completely undercuts the claims of what he's like. Oh, it's the communism.
I mean, the thing is weird, right? Because the authorism, right, and the sort of authorial control, what you're talking about of the filmmaker, and the thing that apparently Booth is prescribing to because he's trying the way he's making the movie. What I also was struck by is that, I mean, maybe it's like kind of a response to that kind of filmmaking, but that the films, this one in particular, it felt like they tried to evacuate the characters, at least, of any kind of sentiment or the filmmaking itself. Like you don't really identify with them. And I don't know if he intended you to, or if that was like him trying to be like, in a Marxist sense, I'm trying not to create characters, because there are no characters in the movie. They're just kind of like figures that do stuff.
I would barely even say figures, because the other thing about a figure, I mean, I think a figure requires a ground. Like it's like, and you're kind of like
animated.
I mean, I guess
it's like a loose amalgamation of signs.
Yes, that's a good way to describe it.
Yeah.
Because I think even the booster angle, it was like, you could have, I don't have to, I will read it. There's this Rivette quote that I used for Sorry to Bother You, and it says, this is old, it's actually a quote of Rivette talking about Claude Chabrol, these two French filmmakers. And he's like, luckily for cinema, television has taken over a large part of the debates. And it is television that is now in charge of dealing with big subjects, society, good and evil, race, and so on. That doesn't mean films shouldn't be interested in good and evil, racism, and the like. What Claude Chabrol basically said was that one must take small subjects that look like nothing and make great films out of them, rather than taking big subjects and making small films out of them. And I actually think his argument is to make a bunch of and make us in his mind small because it's not a Christopher Nolan, whatever.
Right.
Even
but you have to be an artist to do that. You have to want to do that and be able to. And you don't think you can do
he's
this.
not. Yeah. The core of the film is that there is I'm putting this in quotes for everyone, a dialectical materialism machine, which I have to say, I also found this that sort of solves all the problems in the film.
Yeah.
I find this also to be politically
or not even
deep.
a MacGuffin.
Yeah, it's just
Alcahest.
Gimmick, I think.
Universal solvent.
I found this to be the most deeply cynical part of it because it kind of assumes you need a magical wishing machine to have politics. Which
Marxism is magic.
I mean, it's kind of the exact
It's like the commodity fetish of Marxism.
It's the exact opposite of what you'd assume someone making a film that lionizes even unions would do because it's like all political organizing. It takes time.
Yeah.
You have to be patient.
Yeah.
Freedom is an endless meeting type of thing.
None of that.
Whatever. I mean, but like you have to, and it's not like they don't do stuff, but it essentially is this magical superhero device, which I think actually makes the movie more similar to superhero movies or again,
certainly
like Tim Burton or something. Oh, we didn't talk about the soundtrack, but it feels to me it feels deeply cynical to be like, oh, you need a magical machine to do politics.
Yeah.
Which I think again it attests to the sort of self-serving aesthetics of it. Which again, in the case of a Michel Gondry film, whatever, they're just bad movies. It doesn't make me go, oh, that's sad that the only way we can have not a revolution, mind you, not even livable wages. That's not just $5 more or whatever the wage is, or health insurance,
or the status quo, or like a more ethical status quo.
They got some workplace protections, workplace
longer
safety.
breaks. It's true, yeah.
Because moms didn't have got
the cancer went away.
The cancer treatment. Moms got cancer treatment,
which also did not the commodity fetish machine, the dialectical materialist machine,
situational accelerator.
Situational accelerator.
Well, see, this is the thing, though, right? Because the situational accelerator wasn't just a situational accelerator. It could accelerate the contradictions, or it could also like take you to it could also take you backwards. Because remember when they have the scene where she gets zapped and it's the parents fucking.
Yeah.
So there's also you could say
that was very sorry to bother you.
Yeah.
Where so trying to you
could say that perhaps that maybe they went in reverse. They reversed the. But and I think that's actually how they explained it. It was that they did so much. It was like if you adjusted one element far enough, then it would reduce the impact of what happened previously. And
so
I think
a door becomes a tree.
That's exactly what they explained. Is like they reversed enough that the impacts of the sandblasting and whatnot had gotten rid of the cancer. Yeah. So it was the machine that got rid of it. It was the magic.
Yeah, it's actually the opposite of it's very funny because it's kind of the opposite of what materialism. It would be like the social like all these other things are what make a tree into a door. Yeah. Like it's not. This sounds like almost like Aristotle or something, where you're like, oh, the brick, a house is in the brick. Like that's not, it's not actually Marx. I mean, there's a relationship between Marx and Aristotle, but it's not. Marx is like, oh, well, things are socially produced. A tree could be any number of things. Yeah, you don't necessarily glean that. I mean, we're being very generous, so we're just having these intellectual merits. But yeah, it felt very. I thought that was very.
But that it's magical, right?
Yeah,
that's like the thing that's fucked up, which is like, I mean, I guess he's trying to be like, at least. He's allegedly attempted to convey the idea through film, and that's how you would do it through film. Like there's no other way to convey these ideas through film. You can't show people unionizing. You can't show people, which is like even Sorry to Bother You. You focus on Cassius,
but they do have some meetings in it.
But Cassius is the focal point, and then you technically you dislike Squeeze because he's trying to get with Tessa Thompson's character, which was
killing her character.
Well, I mean, and this is the whole thing. This idea that like sex is also antithetical to organizing.
Yeah, it feels very sex negative.
It's very and like you can your only options are organize this international third world, this allegedly kind of like conspiracy sabotage ring, or have sex with this like predatory grifter creepy
model guy,
right, and
fashion nigga
does exist like in these leftists.
Sure, there are plenty of those
anti-sex, but that wasn't what he was trying. It was
you're saying that there's a lot of the anti-sex. Yeah, sorry,
right, and the authoritarian lefts.
But then he also says that he tries to make he wants to make revolution sexy.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's interesting because from his discography, what's interesting is that he had a turn. I remember it explicitly. It was kind of during the Electroclash times. And that's when Pick a Bigger Weapon came out. And I was re-listening to it again. It's very hard to listen to. Well, there's some songs I kind of like, but every song on that album, the titles of it, and I guess the themes overall has something to do with sex. There's like one song I like called Show Your Ass, which is like about, they're gonna get no more cash, get ready to show your ass. But it's just like everything is like some sort of a sexualized.
Yeah. I think not that this is particularly the fear, but I think generally what you learn from like those sort of authoritarian leftist cults is that they're not anti-sex, they're anti like
Detroit
women and gender minorities having sort of sexual autonomy, and that like the guys in the group are always like cult leaders, serial assaulters. So it is like, it makes sense that he could square these claims, and I'm not accusing him of anything. I don't want to get a cease and desist on this. Right. But I do think it makes sense that a straight guy would make this kind of argument, or someone who's induced by patriarchy, which I don't think his film's particularly challenge, even though he substituted women in this one.
Right, exactly. Sorry to bother you.
We're not necessarily we don't believe in representation, and we're not necessarily advocating. I was predicting that his next movie will probably be a weird trans movie, but it is interesting the absence of the film. I mean, we're not clamoring for it.
You're worried about influencing ideas, just don't put it out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually when you talk about authoritarian kind of leftist kind of things, it's very similar to like churches, where it's like, it's the actual act of repressing it.
They want control over sex, not no sex.
Right, exactly. Yeah. No discourse, no conversation. It just has to be a taboo, so that way it can be kind of
which
controlled.
Which also feels like he probably honestly couldn't imagine women characters who had autonomous sex lives for whatever that matter. I mean, again, we
couldn't even give you like the Spike Lee, like
it's
I'll
not
give it to you
screen.
just to kind of denigrate it and make it like, and that's why you got sexually assaulted.
I mean,
do that.
What's her name? Mariah is the character with kids.
Yeah, it was kind of like regularly saying. I mean, and that's like probably the most like sort of prescient critique of the whole film is when she's constantly being like, "How are we even going to sell this stuff?"
Yeah.
Because like that's the thing about the sort of idea that there's like this giant boosting economy is like genuinely who is buying the stuff?
Yeah,
like who is buying
that
the
was
high
another
end,
thing
like,
that I thought was very weird about the film is it kind of characterized. This also feels anti-Marxist or non-Marxist, where it was kind of like he characterized the boosters as good people helping people, and actually I don't think that's how it works. Like, and I'm not complaining. People, I don't want to get us in trouble. If people want to steal stuff, you know what?
Do you
stealing is
how you live.
Yeah, like, but it is the thing that you don't moralize. But it also is this is like the authoritarian leftist group. You're not supposed to moralize labor. Like people do it because it's socially produced. So people steal because they got nothing else left. And boosters often sell shit for crazy price. It's, and it's not like, I mean, whatever, to the extent that they're stealing from super high-end stores. I mean, we don't even have to get into the fashion part of the movie. If you know about fashion, it's not worth engaging. It's so just impoverished as far as the understanding. None of it really makes sense. There really isn't anyone like the Demi Moore character. I'm not sure who that's supposed to refer to.
Yeah, because a designer probably isn't also going to be an influencer. Like he tried to conflate them. Like you don't understand that they're different
things. And also, it was like, it was
like
very,
who would that be?
Yeah,
like Anna Wintour,
like
but she's famously not on social media.
But he's dead.
Yeah, Karl Lagerfeld. Yeah. But then also,
like Rick Owen doesn't do TikToks.
And also it's an independent brand, so it doesn't really. I mean, maybe I don't think he sold it. Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. But again, if you know fashion, none of that part makes sense in it. So you're just like.
But he just thinks he's fly, so
it is really like, which also, I mean, to me, it's more similar to, I feel like maybe Raleigh, you like this movie, so sorry, but it's like, it reminds me of Terry Gilliam's Brazil, where it's like, there's like kind of recurrent femphobia
super.
And it's like, because it also feels like that's targeting fashion. Like, there are lots of straight men into fashion, but it feels like a very specific, not that, fuck
like
fashion.
Santino and Project Runway.
Yeah, but it also just feels like, you look at a movie like Brazil, Terry Gilliam's Brazil, it's like very similar to the substance. It's like hits you over the head with very simplistic and even I would say reductive critiques of
totalitarianism.
Things. Yeah, and you're like, and it because everything is a nail, to its hammer of politics. It doesn't really have anything to say.
In the 80s, there were a lot of movies like it. So
yeah, right. Like a lot of these kind of, which that speaks to like, okay, what are you trying to do politically if you're making Brazil, which I feel like. I mean, and it's like, and Terry Gilliam's also like super reactionary,
he's
and super
horrible.
transphobic. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, it says a lot. I mean, if anything, that would probably be the direction of the cinema. But I think it raises a lot of questions too, because if you make films that way, it's kind of, I think a lot of the movie is, his claim has been it will bring new people into some kind of movement. Again, we've talked about what does that even mean. Yeah. I think it really is more of the echo chamber thing, which I think is the irony of all his claims, is that people that go to it are like the people who like Brazil or something, you know, and who are like, I'm smart.
Right.
I do know what's going on.
I think it's also kind of funny because it actually also kind of undercuts itself in terms of how the direction it goes in, because it goes in this direction that assumes that you like need a union. To do like labor organizing, but the work that they do actually precedes, like they don't have a union. They're actually doing more without like the idea that you need recognition before anything else can happen. Like you have to sort of organize yourself into a union and then everything follows from it. But it's actually so much stuff is preceding it. Yeah. So it's like, for the situation of accelerator to accelerate them into just picketing for union recognition, like everybody.
That's insane.
It's ridiculous.
Like all the organizing disappears into this machine. Yeah, it's like a commodity fetish of organizing. It's
for
like,
him to sort of be doing this whole contextualizing as though it's like supposed to be picking up from this like, you know, giant strike wave, which is the biggest since the 70s, or picketing or union, whatever.
And he puts in the marketing of himself and branding and interviews.
Yeah, that is like he's trying to, you know, put that out there. It's like, okay, well, if they're already
while working for Amazon.
Yeah, it's like also if we spent 4 years picketing and striking just for what to come out of it exactly?
A $5 increase. It's like
for people to be able to have a bureaucratic mechanism to ask for.
Well, what's funny,
it also the movie has a bunch of weird. We said we talk about the Bay context. And
we come to. I was going to say.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, it's like you were talking about like the market for boosting in the first place, and I remember watching the film. And they have like maybe 5 people who are all involved. Do they all get a cut? Because the way it's defined in the song is that a booster sells retail at like cut rate resale or something. And so if they're getting less money, that I don't understand, like if it's cheaper than going to Christy Smith's, is that her name? Is going to her store, then like there's like that. But I don't know. It's just
I mean, it's also one of those things where the stores looked like fast fashion, but it was supposed to be. It didn't make a lot of sense, and it was like nothing like that exists. And it was like
high end.
Well, stores, the stores don't exist.
And it's like people that go to the store. We're near downtown. It's like it's mostly tourists. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. But
those
it's mostly sold online, right?
Full.
But to the Bay Area context, because this is San Francisco, I think one thing that felt absurd to me, and Toshio, you both have lived here much longer, and actually you of course have too, because you grew up here. Like, is when I moved here like 16 years ago, I think it was like, for a server at a restaurant, the minimum wage they were fighting for was like maybe $9, $10, $11, $12 an hour. Now you probably need like $20 or $30 an hour. So 30, what that shows you is that you can raise the wages and everything will just keep getting more expensive, which is how the U.S. economy works. Like, and that's not even a critique in the movie that you're like, if we just got 5, I'm like, they would just make housing more expensive. You do not understand. It feels kind of like this is, again, I mean, you could read the Engels. It's like a half page. Not that that's the one person you should read. I'm just, again, very basic. Like you can find this online. But it does strike me as an observable fact that a regular person would go, you know, let's say he's trying to speak to someone who's a waiter, who's been a waiter for 15 or 20 years here. They would go, my wages have doubled. It's just apartments have quadrupled.
Right?
When you doubled. 10 times 10.
I mean, you have to live in what is it? Like a worry-free housing thing or whatever from the other movie. Well, when you were talking, I was thinking about one of the so they use this magical dialectical materialist machine and one of the signs at the end, it creates a protest at at her opening is that one person's sign is like longer breaks. So in the film itself, the breaks are depicted as lasting 30 seconds. So what are they now a minute?
Right. Yeah.
It's just like what does longer breaks mean? And like
I mean, that is the classic. You know, there's no movie where the signs during a protest.
Your boss.
If we were to rate film protests, how did the signs in this film look compared to say the hate you give or
Queen and Slim.
Eddington.
Oh, wow.
I think Eddington had better signs.
Yeah, I think Eddington was maybe a better movie.
Well,
I'm saying a lot because it was bad.
As far as that was that Ari Aster.
I mean, I think this was as bad as one.
That was comparable.
The movies are still better though
because it's just it's representing, like it's bringing to the attention of the audience something, a problem that exists that you don't see represented in media.
Yeah.
And I guess if that's all he was intending to do, good job, because now you have the representation of union seaters or rent control.
But I think with
but they're mischaracterized.
But exactly, I think that's the big thing is that you look at a lot of the bourgeois things, you're like, these don't exist in the world, and there's something about that says a lot about the way he also has to depict like anachronism. Like in Sorry to Bother You, it's telemarketers. By the time he makes Sorry to Bother You, there are no telemarketers in the U.S. unless they're in prison, which he could have dealt with. They're in the Philippines, a U.S. colony, which he could have dealt with, or they're AI, which he also could, even in 2018, which he could have dealt with.
I wonder in the South. I mean, like when I typically have to call, like working for the government, like I did for some time, I would have to call and get like, might have to reset my passwords and things like that. So it's like, but again, it's the idea of like, if you're going like the kind of traditional Marxist vanguardist approach, like you try to find the most integral sector and organize them sort of thing. He's simply not doing that. I mean, but again, it's like the thing is like I feel like maybe you brought this up is that he worked at like a call center or something.
Yeah, he said that.
So it's just the fact that he's like so navel gazing.
Yes,
like, really,
I like it.
Well, I think that
because he accuses us of it.
Yeah.
If I were to speculate on his motivations, I think that in terms of the anachronism of or just things being off, I think that he perhaps is like thinking that, I get the idea out there of labor organizing, like the details of it don't matter. Like he's a flattening of capitalism, which it feels like a capitalist thing to do is to flatten it. It's like to not talk about the complexities or the nuances of things. And there is a character in the movie, well, actually, Corvette frequently will accuse one of their friends as like, this is, I was literally reading it. It's like, Sade, now is not the time for nuance. Or she keeps telling her that, which maybe that's how we're supposed to regard the film, is like a flattening of everything. Like it literally is what we see.
I think the thing is that he grew up, because these are big Gen Xer films with like Delicatessen and those like I know triggering. I can't stand the Jean-Pierre Jeunet films.
Like,
and it feels like
City Lost Children.
City Lost Children. And like it's because I had to look them up. Sorry. So like it feels like that's kind of why some of this is the way to, and of course those led to Michel Gondry. Like it feels like he wants.
These
to
are all people who directed Bjork videos.
I
throw
think
that in there.
There's a good dark way to sort of look at him as like a benevolent colonial administrator, and I think it's like. If we really use the kind of like internal, but not comprador because he doesn't own anything.
He
he's just the administrator, he's literally he's like just the figure. He's not even the one that's property and actually deriving the sort of value, the profit, the marginal profit share that say the sort of landowners in Palestine, Christian landowners, that comes up in like Palestine 36, those people. But it's like it's not even a situation like that.
Well, we don't know what Lamb Boots owns.
Maybe he's a landlord now.
Well, we didn't.
Maybe he's a landlord now. That's why none of the movies have been Kill Your Landlord. He's picked the other titles.
That is,
but it's like the fact that it's like when I say he's like the idea that he's a benevolent colonial administrator is like it's constantly sort of misdirecting and like almost like offering the promise that like if you just work within this structure, if you work within these parameters, if you work within the system, like we can really do something here. Like the problem is you all just haven't tried hard enough. You haven't rallied. You haven't garnered the resources.
And you haven't swallowed the other critiques you have.
Because
that always, anytime someone makes you need to organize with people outside your thing, they're always like, so they're a little racist and transphobic. BFD.
You just got to put your feelings aside.
It's too soft. Y'all too soft.
You got to take your nose out the air. You can't be so stuck up.
I just need, because you said that, or we were saying that. There is an album called Kill Your Landlord, and there is a song on the album called Kill Your Landlord, and the lyrics for Kill Your Landlord are not in here.
Which is that from the Eddie Murphy sketch from the Saturday Night Live in the 80s?
I think that's part of where it comes from originally. Yeah. I mean, there is 5,000 ways to kill a CEO or 5 million ways to kill a CEO.
Yeah, it is also funny that none of this, but it's also, I mean, it is it says a lot about the cinematic imagination that which I think is true, that at this point it has a less radical world of possibility than what people are actually doing in real life. You know, like,
do you think he thinks it's radical?
I mean, he seems to be.
Do you think he thinks
drumming
that
it
what
up
he,
as such?
like the
That's what
skinless
he
people?
said. He said, I'm
skinless people.
communist.
I'm catalyzing
Yeah.
millions.
Yeah.
That's his own
You
word.
don't move weight like that, player.
He said millions.
You don't move
That's
weight like
wild.
that.
That's so wild.
Yeah.
I'm radicalizing millions.
He's like Malcolm X in that in Spike Lee where he goes, and then they all follow. He got
That's a
the glove.
complex.
The Harlem Riot. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Precisely. I mean, he has such a like
No black man
grandiose
should have that
idea of
much
himself.
power. Yeah, no.
Just like the most delusional.
Yeah.
One of the white cops says that, right?
I think what's interesting too, I think Didi is a really good point, is that, again, I think of him as this trajectory, this interests me, of like a black cinema where it's like, you know, Spike Lee kind of could like vaguely refer to kinds of communal contexts. And I think we're at a point in neoliberalism where with Boots Riley, and we can talk about the we had to bring this up.
Oh yeah.
Is like the way in which it's entirely affective and even more fictitious than it was during, say, Spike Lee's day.
Yeah.
Where even Spike Lee, you could claim Brooklyn for sure. You
Yeah,
could
he
claim
shut down a
the
block in
HBCU.
Brooklyn to do the right thing.
You could claim the HBCU being I mean, the admissions like doubled or something after what's it called, like school days. But with Boots Riley, it feels like he's claiming almost it's all discursive. It doesn't exist. It's very similar to the internet. Like, and what we talked about is that none of the film was filmed in the Bay.
Yeah, Boots Riley shot I Love Boosters in Atlanta, Georgia.
That is sacrilege.
Which is just like 2 million about labor.
I mean, I called it because I was like, the only like Oakland part of it is when you get that weird like montage where it's like you just stuck someone, you just stuck a camera out the side, East 14, exactly.
Yeah.
And this is what I was saying. We were kind of like off, but I was like Boots Riley is making me, really use like to get into anachronisms. Like that's a mark ass nigga right there. Like Boots Riley. Like you got me digging out the like I haven't said something like, I haven't described anybody like that since like 2009.
Hiding in the car.
Like I'm back in middle school, exactly. It's like I'm back in like middle school. I don't know the last time I heard somebody describing those terms.
Yeah.
But it's like he's so outdated. Like that's like aggressively outdated, aggressively like just a weirdo, I think. He's like sort of an integral part. And I think that shows up though in the politics that get represented, because also what is the John Woo character? Like the populist like weird accent, the idea that they're like
that's how
so
she actually
out of touch that they would have no idea like this sort
but
of
they speak perfect English.
No, but speak perfect English, but then don't speak English, like don't get the references, and like
that's
the notion
like that's like 80s racist level movie.
And that's what I was saying. Like it feels like really Orientalist fantasy,
which
dressed up as really third world collaboration.
It's really strange because she's on Poppy Lou. Poppy Lou was on. Is she on Hacks? Yeah. She talks like that on Hacks. So I don't know if she did. But we did
Hacks. She has much more like a Valley Girl, even kind of a thing. Like, oh my God, girlfriend.
No, she's got. I think that's her actual voice.
Because I was trying to speculate, because I was like, why would you do that on purpose? And it's like, because it comes off like it was the director's intent that you give this person this accent.
Yes.
It's just like,
and it's also like it's a magical world where there's a magical fixing machine, but we need that Asian authenticity.
It's just like, what are we doing?
So strange.
Yeah.
And the other part about it too, we can talk about this because you've talked about it a lot on the show. People should check out the episode based on the Weijin one, or what do you call it? The other episodes. I think what's interesting, and you've had Chris Lee on the show a lot, like
the music episode that they just
and I think what's interesting also is that
music, but
the film kind of, if we were really to get into it, like more controversial, but it's very internet communism, is like the We Love China thing, is like it kind of criticizes the factory, but like acts like the Chinese government is in play. Like it's just like, it feels very naive. You're like, okay, you don't know anything about like Dengism or like what's happened in China since the opening up.
No.
It just feels so flat, and you're like, it doesn't. It's also, we could talk about why the state is not there, and then we live in a place with, in a lot of ways, such a like, except for the cop who's funny. Right?
The police don't really show up until the very end.
Which also is strange for a movie about stealing. Like you're like, if
there's
anything,
I don't even think there's security guards at the store until after they start doing their boosting.
Because they always get away.
There's no security guards in sight until after the boosting happens.
And then they put vault doors over the entrance and stuff.
And they're like, oh shucks.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, they're always there.
Yeah. The police are absent from this movie.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
Other than the ending where it's like a Keystone Cop.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we driving down
with all the models, which the models are nice, and Boots apparently worked on models at one point in his life, and so he has this relationship relationship to it, but it doesn't help the movie. It just makes it more.
It's just something he wanted to be in. Yeah, it doesn't.
And it seems like something that, like, when you're cutting a trailer, you're like, oh, there's action. It's not like that Sorry to Bother You movie where there wasn't any action. There's action in this movie, which it feels like that might have been a note from the studio. Can you make it look like something's happening?
Yeah, it's very hard to tell what the point of that. I mean, it feels. I mean, it strikes me that if he, probably, again, it's like, why is there no kill your landlord? Why is there no kill CEO? I mean, you could also say that since the woman's supposed to be the CEO, they just like change her mind or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they don't kill her.
Right. That's right. And that's what we talked about. Only the meat suits have guns.
Yeah. Because the meat suits are evil. I don't, and the cops,
I don't know. People have guns, but they just have the situational accelerator. Yeah. I think the situational accelerator would probably put some guns in the people's hands, not just some picket signs.
And it also, again, but it goes to show, that's what I was kind of referring to, of like the cinematic imagination being like actually more conservative than what people are doing in the world.
What people are actually you're doing, like the arsons, like the actual
all
killing of
CEOs,
the sabotages, even failed ones, if you want to call any, like if that's ever can really be a failure to really.
And it's like none of that is in the film, and it's like it is the thing where my view, like we talked about in the Bush episode where we talked about my book, is like I think unfortunately a lot of art, especially Black art, is designed to hold you back. And I think that's something.
That's what I said. Colonial administrators, like that's his job. His job is
he's like, no, you don't need to be wrecking shit, and you need to just form a union and get five.
No, I'm like, Portugal, we have a really good program for you.
That part of it feels wild because you're like, again, I mean. Go to Europe and they have unions. It's still
plenty of unions.
Military is still supporting the genocide and
super violent.
I was trying to look this. Oh wait, the logo.
That's often how the ideas work. I mean, that's like the sort of false promise of the union is like the idea that it starts from this unified totality that if you just need to like catalyze it in the right direction, like it's like a pre-made vehicle that. If only like once we get there, like there's no other work to be done. You just sign your union card, you win your union election, and like the rest will be sorted out. So if only we could increase our union density, then we would really have a fighting chance.
And to speak to the weird, I just want to say the weirdness of them not killing the CEO. This is like the Coup's actual logo. And it's like a woman with a shotgun. Carrying a baby in a shotgun.
Very Emory Douglas.
And it's like, there's, what is the gun for? I mean, it's just not.
That's a particle accelerator. That's
that's the situational accelerator.
Particles.
It's like they had to Adobe Photoshop all the guns out, like they on albums and stuff.
Or like the ET when they re-released it.
Oh, the ET, yeah. It's like they had to edit themselves because it's too radical. It's like, whatever.
Or you gonna get us back online?
Yeah. But no, I think that the conversation has flowed. Obviously,
I feel like we'll wrap it up. Is there anything to talk about?
Lot to say about this film. If you had to say one good thing about this movie.
I like the models.
Okay.
Like the claymation stuff?
Did not like the claymation. Like, you said immediately that it was like models for the like a lot of the action,
like the mall scene, the mall chains, and even the streets of San Francisco.
Anything with a car was all a model. It was just kind of impressive.
Practical effect.
No, I hate it. No, immediately you said it was like Adult Swim, the fucking animation, which I have a theory that like that's just sort of like is the streamlined sort of of like film production now. Like they just sort of take a random person who kind of has like kind of a profile, and then they just have like people who are just like, well, I'll just do this and I'll do that. Like maybe he did storyboards for it, but I kind of feel like the studio, Annapurna, they probably have like a whole team who builds the movie, and so they probably had someone who was working on claymation.
We also get from this movie, there's endless behind the scenes things. Have you seen this? Unfortunately, I watched all the promo or a lot of the promo. And it is all like, we had special lenses made, which is also just feels like he's trying to be Christopher Nolan.
For what?
I hate to.
The movie. That's another thing too. I can't hear the dialogue in the movie.
Talk about the soundtrack.
Like because so much of it hinges on she said it, which is why it's like the IMDb, like the quotes, like
we got
the quotes
soundtrack going on.
Like the quotes page from is it just came out, right? I guess no one's seen it, but there's like no one can hear the dialogue. I don't even know what.
A lot of people complain about that, even who like it.
It's like insane. It's like 20 million. You can't like mic people.
But see, this was the thing. Some people were saying like, oh, 20 million budget, that's perfect. Like you're actually going to you're gonna pay the crew and stuff.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Do you
You're in
really
Atlanta.
think?
Yeah.
Right,
He's in
exactly. You
Atlanta.
went all the way to Atlanta to shoot the movie. You thought he got the budget so he could pay the crew better.
I mean,
Now
Right.
we're right. Yeah.
Kiki
You all are
Palmer, I've
ridiculous.
noticed this, tends to mumble a little bit when they read lines. That's kind of what when they're acting.
Oh, Kiki's not binary?
Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, I did it again. My
Resident
mom,
at UCLA.
Kiki tends to
Yeah.
slur her lines when she in other role. I mean, not slur. She tends to mumble a little bit, and but if you're aware of that, mic appropriately or ADR, like. Sorry to bother you. I mean, is all ADR. That's the whole point of the joke of the movie.
What's his name?
It's
It's like a mumblecore actor. Like Keith Stanfield.
Yeah.
That's your barometer.
like mic them. I can't hear what the
And
fuck's
it's
going
like,
on.
both the way he
It's
talks.
just, I don't know. Sorry. It's like things I liked. I liked the models. I liked, was there a sequence that I thought worked? That's
You
one thing
can't
too.
stage
I
a
described the
comedic
film.
sequence. That's
That's
the stunning part.
I described the film earlier as like assaultive, but it's just like, you totally forgot this. So one of the early scenes when they're boosting, one of the character, Taylor
The
Page,
breath holding. Yeah.
she like holds her breath and turns white. And so I guess that was a different actor.
Yeah, I know. I do remember.
And so like,
it was
I
the woman
remember
from Black Lady Sketch Show, which
yeah, and so I was watching that and I was trying to reconcile that with the point of everything because I was like, okay, we're in a magical reality, just like squatting this chicken place. It's just like there's just a lot of stuff in the movie. Sorry, that was like the thing I did not.
You
But it
didn't
was just
really
like
pull out
it was like there's tons of
okay.
things happening. I was trying to be like, okay, what is this? Why is this happening? Also, we didn't talk about it, but so we think it's. I mean, yeah, it probably is the Millennium Tower reference. So Christy
Millennium thing.
Smith's office is in a
It is a
building
Millennium
that
Tower.
is leaning.
yeah.
The entire time I was watching that scene, I was like wondering, I was concerned for the treatment of the extras who have to stand around in between takes and they have to stand awkwardly. Like, did they have things to sit on?
I thought they just tilted the camera. Did you get a tilting set? Or they were outside?
I think it was an actual set
But
that
then
was
they were
built that
outside of
way.
the set and it was built on a rig, though, if so. Like, like the earthquake thing at the
But it doesn't
Science
move
Museum.
during the movie. It's stationary. I think it was built at that angle. I'm just guessing. I don't know.
I would imagine that they just use some simple machines. And
Yeah,
just
yeah.
crank
And it's
it
people
and
moving
adjust
it. Yeah.
You want to think? Okay.
One thing that surprised me about that scene is he can't stage a single comedic scene. Like, it can't have a funny thing. Like, just go watch a Buster Keaton.
Like,
movie.
it
Watch 10
has no
minutes of
setup, set up
or
and
Chaplin
plot.
or so. Like, just
Yeah.
make something
It's
basic,
like-
funny.
But that's
out of it.
the
Punchline,
hubris.
punchline.
That's the whole
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
It's like it's his aggressive hubris. I mean, he's just
He
Yeah,
went
I
to
think
film
it
school
is,
apparently,
yeah.
but
That's shocking.
many
Well,
such cases.
maybe not, yeah.
San
I guess.
Francisco State.
Yeah.
Do you have
Or Shady
a good
State,
thing to say?
probably.
I won't force.
You know,
Forced to go.
I don't think I have a single good thing to say
Okay.
about everyone who's heard me talk about this film has literally just heard me just rip it to shreds. I think the best thing that maybe comes out of it is that, maybe someone will go looking for who Jean-Luc, whatever the what's it called was.
Jean-Luc Godard, yeah.
But I can't remember the name.
Dogger.
Dogard. Yeah, Dogard.
Dogger.
Right.
Yeah, and watch a Godard film instead.
Jean-Duc Pogard or whatever.
Yeah.
Which
they're
that
doing,
was
yeah.
during it was the flash when she was explaining
It's
the
when,
particle
yeah,
the
accelerator.
factory part.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, if anything, if you watch movies, would have made more sense to have a Wang Bing film because he literally makes films about Chinese factories. But whatever,
Mhm.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
not particularly obscure. But anyway,
Yeah, I mean, like that. If I had to pull some sort of diamond from the.
So you're
heap of
saying maybe
shit.
it'll make
Yeah.
someone watch a good movie?
Yeah, maybe it'll take someone into like French New Wave or third, and eventually they'll circuitously get to
And they'll
third
be like,
cinema.
wow.
And then be like,
is
wow,
this?
like
Yeah.
they'll start at La Chinoise and then they'll just go on from there.
I mean, I don't think the
Hopefully,
DSA wants the socialist world, really. I mean,
We just got to elect the right candidates.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because I mean, the thing about it is like that whole. It's what if you listen to any kind of, and I did this because when I first started working for the service, as I call it, and I had been like, I had just drank a bunch of the union Kool-Aid. I was at Columbia and the grad student workers were doing their unionization drive. And I had seen the sort of pitfalls of nonprofit organizing because everybody who had done student organizing who was above me when I first got there, like when I was a first year, they would graduate, they would go work for a nonprofit. Their politics would seem to just go die. And so I was like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So I was like, but I do want to continue organizing. That's really important to me. So I was like, okay, I'll go to like a union workplace because that's a place where, I could continue to kind of grow as an organizer.
Mm-hmm.
And I got there and I thought it was going to be like, these Marxist training ground and whatever. It simply wasn't. So then I was starting to try to learn and find more information about, Marxism, left politics, et cetera, et cetera. And so also because I was driving and I could listen to things, or like even when I was out delivering, I would put podcasts or, have videos, long form videos playing. And I remember all this sort of stuff about dialectical materialism. It'd always say that kind of thing. It's like antithesis, thesis, synthesis. Exactly. And then, because I'm curious, it's like I would go deeper into this sort of kind of Hegelian stuff, like listening to the people really dig into philosophy. And, there's people who have like done this, or even people who haven't gone into this. There is this really big break that happens. I mean, really after the 60s, but I feel like the fever pitch is like the 80s and 90s, once all the translations and things started hitting the US. Is this real deep critique of just that kind of gross, vulgar uptake of dialectical materialism to just explain away everything. Like, you could explain away all the crises of the Soviet Union. You could explain away all the crises with Cuba. You could explain away all the crises with China just through like, this is dialectical materialism. You can't be asking those kind of questions because, you gotta let the dialectic play out. And that's always where those kind of like the arguments around where like, black people have to wait, trans people have to wait, gay people, you got to wait because you got to wait for the dialectic to play out so we can get to the point. And it's like, okay, so you want me to adopt this Hegelian theory of history?
Yeah, it's history.
Christological.
Exactly, right. So like, but they'll be like, no, but Marx got rid of all that. Marx exercised the Hegel from the dialectic and like longer, right? We no longer
turn
have
Hegel on his head. I hate exactly.
So took him off his head, put him on his feet. Exactly. Yeah. People will do that and they will want you to just accept it. They really will convince people like, no, you don't need to think. You just need to. And it's very religious in that regard, most of those people's thing. And that's how it kind of was presented, like the sort of like very kind of
dogmatic
street corner, the kind of street corner proselytizing, like we have the answer. It's antithesis, thesis, synthesis,
and
like that's all you need to know.
Largely left in the U.S. too, because the ones actually doing shit were in jail or dead. And it was like the RCP type of.
The people were like, y'all just don't understand dialectical materialism.
There's a character like that in Virgo. It's the one who tells the stories and like will like mesmerize. People watch that show. There is a character who like there's like a moment where I believe, this is like within my ethical imagination.
You're a believer.
The entire reason why I'm a Virgo exists is for this character because the character explains communism, explains just different things, and so it becomes like a very. That's like one of the good parts of the show is that they kind of explain these things, and they're very beautifully presented and stuff, and it is very much like you're talking about, and it is kind of like I think that character. They can just convince people. And so I think it says a lot about maybe how they imagine what organizing. It is kind of a magical thing is that this person is able to convey them. That's part of a lot of like, maybe it's like the mythos of the rapper, right? The rapper breaks down these systems in ways people can understand. Right. And so I think that's plain. They say making it plain.
I feel like I side with the PAIGC on this. Tell no lies, claim no easy victories. And I feel like everybody just wants it to be so easy. That's why so many people are like, oh, capitalism's dying just because they don't want to actually have to admit you would have to kill it. It's not just going to die.
It's going to die on its own. It's like
it's part of the implicit argument again to this movie where it's like China's not capitalist. Like, girl, really? It's also those things you're like, you pretend the last 50 years haven't happened in China. It just feels you're like, what?
No, it's just because of those pesky transnational business arrangements.
It's like, literally like the specialized zones of production. It just it's like okay, at best it's like the US in the 50s. Like can you put just.
So when we see that thing at the end, whatever, maybe it's a metaphor, right? Because it's happening at the show, her season, thing.
picketing
who are those workers?
In fashion.
Are those workers supposed to represent the ones in China, or because that's another question I have about the film.
They left the fashion industry. That was where they got accelerated. They left the fashion industry, and now they're proletarian workers that they.
But those are the people who were from the store, because it was like all the different from the different regional stores were going to be at this show, right?
Right. Okay.
But
yes.
is their protest what does that mean for the people who manufacture the clothes in China and the sweatshop? Like, it doesn't really explain. Are they going to get shorter? Like, what is, like, was that?
You're thinking too much. Just let the dialect play out.
Totally. Because when I left the movie, it was like when I left the movie, it was like it felt really dystopian and bleak. It was all we want is a status quo.
He keeps saying things in interviews where he's like, "Look, we're in capitalism, so that's all I can work with." And he said this thing in interviews where he's like, "I'm not some kind of prefigurative anarchist," which feels like a very dated term, by the way.
Wow.
And it's like, he's like, where I try to work outside the system. Yeah, and I'm like, okay. He's kind of just doing a version of what we saw in the Obama era to get us to reinvest in black capitalism, where it was like, you have, having someone inside will change things. It's really the same argument, except instead of using the quote unquote identity politics of like, the first black, he's like the first black communist or the first communist or something.
Yeah, he thinks he's like the first black leftist filmmaker.
Sorry to bother you, feels prefigurative because it's literally trying to show you to organize your fucking workplace.
I think he obviously doesn't understand communism or anarchism or a lot of basic concepts or how to make a film.
He's gonna write a dissertation about everything.
I would love to see you explain one of these ideas.
He can't make a movie. Sorry, I was cutting you off. He can't.
Yeah. So I mean, it is one of those things where I think that his claim is like, oh, you have to work with what you got, which I think is related to what people say, like, with
dialectical materialism.
No, it's also people's argument where they're like, you need these hierarchical structures, you need these kind of things, you need the workplace. It's a mystification. It's also why these groups, one of the reasons a lot of these groups, other than the fact that a lot of the leftist groups also get funding and work with cops, why they're so anti-sex worker. Yeah. But other part of it is also because they don't want to do the kind of, like actual work to support organizing sex workers, et cetera.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of, there's actually, one could argue or find a deeper relationship to what he's saying out in interviews outside, and to what you're making the point of is that I think, he doesn't, I mean, I don't think he does any organizing in the world, but I mean, and I saw something that said he was quote unquote organizing tech workers to unionize.
Oh,
which feels like that's like organizing cops.
Techies are not workers.
Like organizing cops. Yeah. Like, so, I mean, it strikes, or stockbrokers or something, and it's like, which is also, we didn't get a chance to tell the story where he said he saw Rage Against the Machine, who's heard some story, and then they heard this, they performed in Wall Street trying to get arrested because during Occupy or something like that, or maybe before. And then down the street came all these chanting pro Rage Against the Machine stockbrokers. And Boots Riley's claim is, they became stockbrokers because there was no movement for them to join. And it also kind of goes to what I think, Dee, what you're saying is that people don't want to have to make any choice, and they want their claim to be, I became a stockbroker because I couldn't help it.
Just had to make ends meet.
Yeah, you had to make ends. I got to make $400,000 a year.
I was making six figures working at the post office. Like, there's actually a myriad ways that you can make.
The way he's trying to magic away the middle class or whatever you want to call it.
It also feels like a cynical way to. It's very similar to the you have an iPhone, but you critique capitalism meme. It really is the same. He kind of has that politic, which, I mean, do we need more of that? We have the memes. And I think people can react to the memes with more critical politics. But I think that's where some of that comes from him.
How about you?
Something good out of it? I don't think there was anything good about this movie. I think it's one of the worst movies I've seen in the last 5 years. I watch like multiple movies a day. Let's say recent movies. I mean, I've seen some. There's probably not an old movie I've seen that's as bad as this. But the women were pretty in it. I don't know. That's about it. I was like, oh, they're all beautiful. I mean, that was really it. I mean,
I can't.
I'm being facetious, sort of. I mean, they are pretty, but
there's nothing I can give to this grifty.
Yeah, it's so aggressive. Yeah,
to have plumbed communism. That's one thing, but to have tried to sort of suck the soul out of Oakland to sell your movie,
and shoot it in Atlanta,
and also because Oakland is so underrepresented, but it's not.
It's not a big film.
It's funny because sorry to bother you. Did
and it's interesting because that was made with way less money. So his argument were, with $20 million, I could really shoot.
It is amazing.
You don't want to do nothing for the town. He's not really concerned with it. I think I've seen him doing I think he was on that list of people who are trying to create some sort of film program to support filmmakers from out here. But it's like you had the money to actually do something.
He could have hired people from here. Yeah, too.
Anything.
Yeah.
But like this is what you choose to do. And I mean, we were kind of talking about it when we were having like our technical difficulties, I think, but to be so aggressive about marketing it as like a love letter to Oakland, a love letter to boosters, blah, 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 blah. It don't got shit to do with the town. It don't got really shit to do with boosters.
Yeah.
And it don't got shit to do with communism. So it's just like, we're not even asking for any authenticity, but it's like you see how people still use that as a selling point.
Just stay on task.
Like, you know, it's the genuine article. You know, it's like very much that.
Yeah.
It's just sad.
Realness, fakeness. What was your favorite thing from the film?
I mean,
soundtrack?
I mentioned earlier that I was high, like into the movie.
It's good to get
I took a gummy, so it was a little bit more enjoyable. But I you know, the media parts I'm always like, you know, easy like target for any like media critique. So the interludes where it's like the local news basically, I thought it was cute.
But also
funny.
it's just, it's everything. It feels like he's
out of touch.
Yes,
it's like you would know this, that it's mostly the street.
It's like,
the social media
people are actually getting their news from TV news now.
No one's watching K-Pix.
I think, and two is, this is also the thing where it's like he needs those cutaways, which are like Family Guy, or honestly his movies remind me a lot of Mike Judge, like Idiocracy or Office Space, which Sorry Bobby is very similar to.
Yeah,
because it needs all these cutaways that are, again, I think those are very condescending movies. You know, like. But or particularly Idiocracy. But like, yeah, I think where it's like, oh, it's TV news, and you're like, that was made 30 years ago.
I think it's
like,
the second screen thing.
It's true.
It's like they don't want you to pay attention. They want you to like occasionally be like, oh, there's something happening.
Yeah, they want you to remember. It's a gimmikification of cinema, which I think he's participating in. Which I think says, I mean, he really hates cinema. That's very obvious. He really hates movies. I think. I mean, I wouldn't put cinema is not as important as Oakland, but I think it's in league with what you're saying, where it's like this guy is grifting on everything, and it's kind of tiring because you're like, because I can see if you at least, okay, One Battle After Another was terrible, but I don't doubt that what's his name likes movies. Paul Thomas Anderson. I think it's maybe as bad as
this. Told me it was Robert Altman, which I will never be able to.
But it's like you're like, okay, this guy's trying. You know, there's some plot and like devices, and there's I'm paying it. I could tell you something about like what's being said in the movie.
Yeah,
I don't think he hates cinema the way, and it kind of is one of those things where you're like, if you start down, I think it's a good lesson. Maybe this is what's good about the film is I take it as a lesson is like, if you hate these kind of things and you're just using them to get over on people, which is very much black hustler art grifter bullshit, then this is the kind of, I mean, he's probably doing very well.
Maybe he wants to be.
I was like, so you'll learn. And it's like, he's probably doing very well. But like.
What's the name of the guy, the snowball guy?
Snowfall?
No, the dude who sold the snowballs.
Oh, David Hammons.
Maybe that's what it is. I mean, I'm giving him a lot of credit.
That feels pretty mean.
I'm giving him a lot of credit.
Sorry, David.
Sorry, Mr. Hammons.
I mean, come on now. Yeah. But I think that if anything, that David Hammons thing, that piece where he's selling snowballs, if people know that's kind of the point that this is like this. You know, but that it is ironically that's every black artist now.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, Boots is trying to sell his authenticity. It's just kind of his Oaklandness or something.
Yeah, which I don't know the neighborhood.
Via Atlanta 94610.
Yeah, I think what you said was the best. Yeah, and the only thing, hopefully, it makes people watch actual good movies.
Jesus, I hope so.
Thank you.
Good Lord.
For being here. Thank you for doing this. Next time we're gonna watch a good movie.
What's a good?
Commentate
on. Or do Vertigo or something. What's a good?
Yeah.
Oh, San Francisco, Miss Doubtfire.
Oh yeah, Miss Doubtfire.
Better than this. Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna do the Looking movie.
It just feels too bland.
That's terrible.
But we could try to do a good one. I mean,
what would be a good movie?
I mean, Love Massacre is cool, but it would. I don't know what you would really say about that.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Vertigo strikes me. I think that is the best San Francisco movie.
No, Vertigo.
I mean, it was shot. Some of the scenes are from very close to here too.
Oh, by hook or by crook.
Yeah, we could do that. That's a good. We could do a gay one in July. We could do it after.
We could just do for the town. You could do one. I'll be out of town,
Space
but
is the place.
We could do do it for Oakland Pride, October.
Oh, October. Yeah, it could be a Halloween theme too.
The off season Pride because they couldn't contend with San Francisco Pride.
We could do criminal queers.
It's true. 20 year anniversary.
You know, this movie was a lot like Criminal Queer.
I mean, the directors of Criminal Queer.
It was very similar, you know.
They both had people talking.
Just talking, yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Just thinking.
Oh, Lord.
Thank you for listening to the show, and especially thank you to everyone who is contributing over at patreon.com/SadFrancisco. You're making it possible for Sad Francisco to exist. And if you're not already a member, think about joining. Again, it's patreon.com/SadFrancisco.